Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in American Comics, I pursue eternity with super god technology. Chapter 21. Return to the Institute. Wu Chen looked at Vision, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. You three will live here from now on, any ideas? Wu Chen asked. The three people who have lived here before, Hulk is the home, Foster and Daisy are to study the wormhole theory. But those three can only be regarded as relying on here. But now, Vision and the three of them were taken in by Wu Chen, and they were all his subordinates. I was just born, and I don't know much about the world. I want to take a good look at what the world is like. Vision spoke first. Okay, then you can go take a look at the world. The mind gem on your head, I will take it off after half a year. Wu Chen said. Are you still going to take the gem? That's what Vision has been worrying about all along. Mind gem is my origin, if you take it away, then. You are wrong, the mind gem is only a part of your body. What really created you is the original JARVIS system, Stark, Banner, Thor and Ultron. Wu Chen interrupted Vision. You mean, you have a way to take out the mind gem without hurting my origin? Vision was amazed. If he had known this earlier, he wouldn't have thought about it for so long when facing Wu Chen. Not only do I have a way, the people at Wakanda also have a way, even Banner can do it. Wu Chen said. Emotions, this is not a difficult thing. Quicksilver on the side said. It sounds simple, but it's actually not easy to operate. At least, according to the current technology on Earth, it takes a lot of time and energy to actually complete the transfer and reconstruction of all data. Wu Chen said. But you have technology that far exceeds the current Earth. It shouldn't be difficult to operate, right? Scarlet Witch asked. It's not difficult to simply take out the mind gem. Wu Chen said. However, since Vision has become my subordinate, how can he lose such a powerful attacking move? Wu Chen continued. You mean, you want to transfer the mind gem while keeping my use of light energy rays? Vision touched the mind gem on his forehead and asked. It's not just light energy rays, I have to strengthen your combat power so that you can play a greater role in future battles. Wu Chen said, but there is actually a little hidden in his words. He also had to make Vision a real soldier who only listened to his own command. It would be great if that were the case. At this moment, Vision has no worries about the future, but is full of expectations. Wanda, Pilcher, both of you have super abilities, but your abilities have some shortcomings. Would you like me to improve them for you too? Wu Chen looked at Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. This really belongs to Wu Chen's three subordinates, and he will not treat them badly. Then what is our weakness? Scarlet Witch asked. Your ability is strong, but your overall physical fitness is not good. Wu Chen said, the holographic projection of the big clock shows the physical condition of the two. Wanda's magical power is very strong, and with your continuous development, it should continue to increase in the later stage. But apart from magic, your physique is extremely poor, almost like an ordinary person's physique. That is to say, as long as someone can avoid your magical attack, they can easily injure or even kill you. The same goes for Pilcher. Wu Chen turned to Quicksilver. Your speed is extremely fast, and the metabolism of body functions is also accelerated, but with your high-speed movement for a long time, under extremely fast consumption, the inhalation of oxygen will be insufficient. So, you have to find a way to solve this problem, and like Wanda, you also need to strengthen the body's defense ability. After Wu Chen said this, there was relevant data on the holographic projection. Both Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch intuitively saw the root of the problem. If it's just a matter of physical defense, you can build a vibranium armor similar to the Black Panther battle suit. The voice of the Super Gene system sounded in the hall of the research room. Well, on the basis of not changing the genes of the two, this is indeed the most appropriate way. Wu Chen nodded and agreed with the plan given by the Super Gene system. Speaking of vibranium armor, it seems that you promised when you took the vibranium from Wakanda to give them a gift back. The genetic system warned. Oh, that's true. Wu Chen smiled. He still needs to get more vibranium, just take this opportunity to go to Wakanda again. Also, Ulysses, who wanted to stumbling us before, should also clean up. Wu Chen said, he has long known that Ulysses designed the Wakanda people to come to trouble him. In the past, it was inconvenient for him to shoot Ulysses, but now, he has no scruples. Ulysses, whose arm was chopped off by Ultron and then beaten by the Avengers, is now hiding on an isolated island. MD, this time is really unlucky. Ulysses cursed angrily, and beside him, someone was healing his wounds. Boss, this isn't the first time, right? Haven't we been so unlucky for more than a year? Yeah, didn't we have a batch of vibranium raw materials inexplicably taken away last time? This time it's even worse. The boss's hand was cut off, and so many brothers died. A group of little brothers are on the side, you say every word I say. You guys, you know what to say. Ulysses was full of resentment in his heart, but he had nothing to say when he heard the complaints from his subordinates. In fact, for more than a year, he has been unlucky like this. It seems that the small days are still quite moisturizing. Wu Chen appeared in front of Ulysses, and he and the mercenaries were all terrified at the moment. With the spread of the things Wu Chen has done these days, everyone in the world who is well informed now knows them. Especially Ulysses, he had a holiday with Wu Chen. Why are you here? Ulysses didn't even speak well at the moment. You've helped me so much, isn't it right for me to come and visit? Wu Chen said, but Ulysses felt strange when he heard what he said. That, we don't seem to know each other, right? We have never had any grudges and entanglements between us, right? Ulysses didn't dare to have any grudges and entanglements with Wu Chen, he just wanted to stay away from Wu Chen. But since Wu Chen is here, how could it be possible for him to leave safe and sound? It doesn't matter if we have grudges or not, Wu Chen said. It's just that whether you and Wakanda have a grudge or not, that matters a lot. When Wu Chen said this, a burst of energy suddenly appeared in Ulysses. He was sucked into a wormhole, and after a while, people had moved from the isolated island to the country of Wakanda. The guards in the Wakanda palace looked at Ulysses who suddenly appeared, and all looked busy. Wu Chen, who appeared immediately, made them even more terrified. This man is Ulysses, Wu Chen said. Ulysses. When the guards heard the name, they immediately became vigilant. The two guards who were still stunned at the moment have raised their spears and put them on Ulysses' neck. Go and send a letter to your king and say that Wu Chen is here, Wu Chen said to the other two guards who were still free. When the two guards heard Wu Chen's words, they glanced at Ulysses on the ground again, and immediately turned around and entered the depths of the palace. Moments later, T'Challa rushed over with T'Challa and the royal guard. Ulysses. T'Challa looked at Ulysses on the ground and then at Wu Chen who was standing in front. He remembered the situation when he met Wu Chen before. I didn't expect that you actually brought Ulysses, T'Challa said. What Wu Chen said has always been counted. Wu Chen said, you have done our country a big favor, and we Wakanda will never treat VIPs badly. T'Chaka said, Mr. King, I'm just here to fulfill my promise. Wu Chen said, but it's not just that, I'm afraid. T'Challa said, he always felt that Wu Chen would not really come here just to send a criminal to Wakanda. I want to build a spaceship. Some parts have extremely high requirements for metal. There is no better metal than yours on Earth, Wu Chen said, and his words immediately caused the faces of the Wakanda people present to change dramatically. Although there are many vibraniums that Wu Chen took before, they are not many. But now, Wu Chen is talking about building a spaceship. Even if this spaceship is built according to the appearance of a Quinjet, the required metal will still need more than 10 tons. Mr. Wu, you have to know that although Wakanda has vibranium, it is so hard for us to take out so much at once. It's hard for some strong people. T'Challa spoke first. Here, only he has had direct contact with Wu Chen, and only he knows Wu Chen's strength best. Therefore, at this moment, he must stand up and stabilize the situation, and must not allow the people on Wakanda's side to conflict with Wu Chen. Don't worry, I'm not trying to build a pure vibranium spaceship, I just want to apply it to some key parts, so the total is not a lot. Wu Chen could see what these Wakanda people were thinking. After all, the eye of insight is always open. Then, how much do you want? T'Challa asked. Not much, just 3 tons. 3, this. T'Challa wanted to say no, but it wasn't easy to say it so directly. Just when T'Challa was embarrassed by this, T'Challa was straightforward and agreed to what Wu Chen said. T'Challa and the royal guard were all shocked by T'Challa's answer. That's 3 tons of vibranium. Although the vibranium that fell from the sky on Wakanda had a mountain of reserves. But Wakanda has always used vibranium as a strategic resource. The vibranium from Wakanda over the years, including those stolen by Ulysses, totaled only a few hundred kilograms. But this time, T'Chaka promised to give Wu Chen 3 tons in one breath. If someone else asked for vibranium, we would be concerned that he would use these vibraniums as a destructive weapon, posing a threat to the world, and it could fall on you, but there is no such concern at all, because you already have the power to destroy the world, without vibranium at all. T'Chaka said, as a king, he still sees things transparently. It's still the king who sees things clearly. Wu Chen said. The problem now is that the amount of these vibraniums is a bit large, and you don't have that much stock, so I want you to help me mine them out. Wu Chen said that his micro-wormhole transport technology can transport all kinds of things known, but vibranium is too unstable in an unmined state, but it is not safe. You can talk to my son about the specific details. You are all the same age, and it is easier for you to communicate than me. T'Chaka said. Okay. Wu Chen smiled and nodded. After that, T'Chaka and the royal guard left with Ulysses. Together, Wu Chen and T'Challa walked towards the area where the vibranium mine is located. Along the way, the two spoke at length about mining. Meanwhile, over at the Institute, the Avengers appeared. Why are you here? Foster looked at Thor in front of him and asked. She has heard from Scarlet Witch about the Avengers and Wu Chen. Although it's not that the two sides have hatred, but they are definitely not friends. When the Avengers come over, shouldn't it be embarrassing? Mind Gem and Reality Gem are both here in Wu Chen now. It's not safe. I hope to take one of them to other planets. Thor said. That's impossible. Mind Gem is now on Vision's body. When he took TIE particles, he dealt with those dark elves, and you didn't fail to see it. Foster said. This matter is actually an instruction passed down by my father, Odin. He told me that there is a very powerful force in the universe, and they have always wanted to snatch infinite gems, and even Chitauri, who went to Earth, is their people. The ones that appeared during the New York War. Foster suddenly realized that the problem was not simple. Yes, Loki has admitted that they were the ones who sent him to Earth as an outpost in the first place. Thor replied. Those people are still looking for infinite gems, and they know very well that Mind Gem is on Earth. And the reason why they haven't shot it up to now is just because Mind Gem has the weakest dominant power among the 6 infinite gems, but if they knew that Wu Chen had 2 at the same time, they would definitely make a comeback. Thor said. So, we have to come to Wu Chen, we have to find a way to send one of the infinite gems to the universe to hide. Thor made it clear what the future meant. At the moment, Vision had also heard clearly on the side. If you are doing it for safety, then infinite gems should not be taken from here. Vision said. Why? Stark looked at Vision, the mechanical life form he built, but now he has completely become Wu Chen's side. Because there is no safer place in this world than here. Vision replied. How can you be sure that this place is absolutely safe? Stark asked. The light energy barrier outside, the space-time barrier of the Institute, these 2 layers of protection cannot be broken through only by manpower and inability. Vision said. You have all seen Wu Chen's fighting power. Ultron is so powerful, but in his hands he has no room to fight back. Scarlet Witch said. Besides, it's up to us here. Although the 4 of us are not as strong as Wu Chen, we can still exert some strength. The idea of Quicksilver is exactly the same as that of Scarlet Witch. And I, Hulk answered decisively. No, Hulk, you used to be a member of our Avengers, why are you completely on Wu Chen's side now? Natasha Romanoff looked at Hulk. She hadn't been in contact with Hulk for a while. Her impression of Hulk was still at the time of the last New York War. You guys are too weak, but Wu Chen is still strong, so I like to be with him. Hulk put it bluntly. You, Natasha Romanoff wanted to refute, but after thinking about it, Hulk was right. I'm absolutely safe here. Wu Chen is back. He was supposed to check out the vibranium mine, but after learning that the Avengers had come to the Institute, he changed his schedule. Since infinite gems are in my hands, it is absolutely impossible for others to take them away from me. Wu Chen said as he slowly landed next to Hulk and Vision. You know the details of infinite gems. Once they gather, they can destroy the universe in an instant. In this case, it is not safe to put 2 infinite gems in one place at the same time. Thor had no doubts about what his dad Odin said. Now that Odin has said that infinite gems are not safe together, he will naturally do everything in his power to separate them. Then you are wrong, there are more than 2 infinite gems on Earth. What did you say? More than 2. Thor's face is shocked, and the others are also attracted by the sentence. Apart from reality gem and mind gem, are there other infinite gems on Earth? Thor pressed. Yes, a gem that is more powerful than the reality gem's function. Wu Chen said. More powerful than the reality gem. What kind of gem is that? Where is it now? Thor is anxious, the seriousness of this problem has exceeded his expectations. That gem is now in my hands. Wu Chen's words just started, but Ancient One's voice came out. Wu Chen raised his head and looked at the Ancient One magician walking out of the golden halo. You appeared at this time, but it was beyond my expectations. When Ancient One came out, those Avengers were ignored by Wu Chen. The situation is worse than I expected, and I just don't want to come out. Ancient One sighed with emotion. Oops, now the Earth, everything is calm, why is it bad? Wu Chen looked at Ancient One suspiciously. There is a powerful energy that has broken through the dimensional blockade and is about to invade the real world. Ancient One said. Energy from another dimension. Wu Chen was even more surprised. How could there be energy from different dimensions in the Marvel movie universe at this time? It's from a parallel universe, and they're coming to this world soon. Ancient One said. Parallel universe. Could it be that you magicians have done something amazing again? Wu Chen said that in the latest Marvel movie, the person who first opened the door to the parallel world was Doctor Strange, who practiced magic. Recently, a group of magicians have gone astray, but their target is Dormammu in the dark dimension, and the energy of these parallel universes is irrelevant. Ancient One said. No one else could understand her words, but Wu Chen probably understood. The one who went astray was Caecilius. Saying that their target is Dormammu is no different from the movie. But in this way, the energy from the parallel universe is even more unpredictable. They are about to break through the blockade and enter this world. By then, I am afraid it will be a huge amount of disaster. Ancient One said as he landed on the ground and stood face to face with Wu Chen. I have to be careful with those disciples who have gone astray. So, you mean, you want me to help you deal with those things that came out of the parallel world? Wu Chen finally heard the meaning of Ancient One's words. You have equipment that can monitor the world. Once abnormal energy appears, you must be able to perceive it immediately. It is the most appropriate for you to come forward to deal with all this. Ancient One made her intentions clear. Why should I come forward and help you deal with all this? Wu Chen asked back. Once the influx of energy from different dimensions reaches a high level, the entire universe will be affected. You are also a person living in this universe. You don't want to see this universe completely destroyed, right? After Ancient One said this, Wu Chen still did not answer, but those Avengers who had been listening for so long, finally understood. This is a disaster that will destroy the entire world, and this person is here to warn Wu Chen, hoping that Wu Chen can help. Well, who are you, and what are the parallel dimensional energies you speak of? Stark asked, and the other Avengers were all waiting to know the details. All of this shouldn't have been known to you, but the matter has come to this point. One more person to know, one more person to help is also good. Ancient One said, and then started explaining things about multi-universe to everyone. According to what she has learned so far, those who broke through the blockade from the multi-universe are people from other universes. These people all have energies that are different from this world. Even if these energies invade a small amount, they can have an impact on the universe. Once the energy exceeds a certain range, the entire universe will begin to collapse. Therefore, if you want to save this world, the best way is to eliminate these forces from other universes at the beginning. Ancient One's explanation finally made everyone understand what kind of situation they would face next. How can the energy of the multi-universe come suddenly? Stark asked. Yes, parallel universes should not interfere with each other. We have not interfered with them. How can they attack our world for no reason? Hulk didn't know when, but had returned to Banner's appearance. Banner is a better fit than Hulk in this kind of brainstorming. When an important point is destroyed or changed, then all unreasonable things will appear very reasonably. Wu Chen probably understands the reason for all this. Wu Chen came from a different dimension, so it is not surprising that the originally stable world has been fluctuated. Moreover, this may also have something to do with Scarlet Witch. The sealed Book of Darkness has been looking forward to the arrival of Scarlet Witch for thousands of years. Now that Scarlet Witch has been changed by Wu Chen, this thousand-year prophecy may not be realized. Therefore, it is also possible to open the door between parallel universes. You probably already know where this point is, right? Ancient One looked at Wu Chen. Wu Chen was definitely the most special point in her countless prying eyes on the future. It's just a guess, but anyway, we have to eliminate these guys who came to destroy the entire universe. Wu Chen said. This is the only time since he crossed over that he has to participate in a matter. Because, this time, it is very likely that he caused the incident, and this incident threatens the entire universe, including Wu Chen. So, are you willing to help? Ancient One asked. I'm not trying to help you, it's just that these things concern me. Wu Chen said. Also, if the universe is really destroyed, no matter how strong you are, you will still be affected. Ancient One said. I will let the big clock monitor all the abnormal energy points in the world. If there are any special existences that enter this world, I will destroy them. Wu Chen said, and the big clock responded almost immediately. The holographic diffraction diagram shows the projection of the entire Earth, and the detailed data clearly dissects the entire Earth. Ant-Man, Black Panther, Winter Soldier, Magician and Eternals Dutch Brothers Spider-Man hasn't been bitten by a spider yet. All existing ones, whether or not they have shown their deeds, are clearly marked in the on a holographic projection. Caecilius, that should be your misguided apprentices, right? Wu Chen pointed to a group of magicians that were moving fast on the map and said. I'll go find them, and leave the rest to you. After Ancient One finished speaking, he opened the portal again and left the institute. Wu Chen no longer paid attention to those magicians, but turned to the Eternals instead. This group of people has lived on the Earth for thousands of years, but their traces have never been revealed in the past. If the big clock's ability to control information is extremely strong, I am afraid that they will not be known for several years. What's inside the Earth? Why does the big clock show that there are huge amounts of energy bodies? Stark noticed a spot in the center of the holographic diffraction pattern. That's a group of gods in the process of being conceived. Wu Chen said. The God group. The legendary supreme god who dominates the entire universe. Thor asked. He had heard something about the celestial group. This god group is still in the gestation stage, and it has no effect on us until he is formed. Wu Chen said that the big clock has already been recording and analyzing the data of this Tiantian group. As a traverser, Wu Chen knew from the very beginning who and what was the greatest threat to him. Ultron, Thanos, superhero, these may appear to be extremely powerful in the movie, but for Wu Chen, who has supernatural technology, they are not afraid. But the God group, multi-universe, magician, these people have powerful power, or some ability to open, so Wu Chen has to guard against it. Meaning, once he takes shape, it will have an impact, right? Natasha Romanoff asked. Once he takes shape and comes out of the Earth, then the whole Earth will be completely destroyed. Wu Chen answered truthfully. What's the matter? We absolutely can't let him out. Barton said. You don't need to worry about this. Wu Chen said. Now, pay attention to those red dots, there should be energy carriers from parallel worlds. When Wu Chen spoke, several red dots had already appeared on the holographic diffraction pattern. That is the mark of an abnormal energy body. In other words, the energy from the parallel world has officially invaded this world. The big clock shows the real-time monitoring picture of those red coordinate points. It was a green lizard-like monster, a man formed from a mass of sand, and a man with lightning flashing on his body. Lizardman, Sandman, Electro-Man. Wu Chen said. Their introduction is also in the holographic projection of the big clock. People from parallel worlds, you will also have their detailed information here. Stark asked curiously. The big clock can instantly read information about anyone. So far, the only one that has not been fully seen is the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One who came to tell us about this event. Wu Chen said. You mean, the magician just now, you can't fully grasp her information. Stark was even more curious. Why did the seemingly omnipotent Wu Chen fail in the hands of that magician? I can see through most of them, but there are also some that I can't see through. Wu Chen said. In fact, he was also very entangled in his heart. Logically speaking, as a traveler, he already knew the Ancient One very well. But he joined hands with the big clock, and what he could see was still not all of Ancient One. This may be because, in addition to eternal magic, Ancient One's body is also related to the energy of the dark dimension. Big Clock, lock the lizardmen, and open the wormhole. Wu Chen first fell in love with the lizardmen. Among the three, he is undoubtedly the easiest to deal with. The target has been locked, and the space wormhole has been formed. The voice of the genetic system sounded, and Wu Chen took out the divine punishment once again before everyone could react. The index finger pulled the trigger, and a golden light shot out. The lizardmen who just appeared in this world were shot in the head. His so-called genetic repair ability was completely useless under the attack of the god-killing number 1 bullet. There seems to be some kind of connection between the traversers of these parallel worlds. The genetic system agreed, and the Electron and Sandman, who were still in the monitoring range, disappeared directly. One of them was integrated into the circuit, and the other turned into sand and entered the sewer. There is a connection to each other. Does that mean that they came here in an organized and purposeful manner? Wu Chen asked. Probably. The genetic system answered. Parallel worlds do not interfere with each other. Even if there is a major change in our place, they should not know the situation here without us first interfering with them, so how can they come through for no reason? Quote. Wu Chen thought, he needs to figure out the cause of all this. This may be related to 3 people. The voice of the genetic system only appeared in Wu Chen's sea of knowledge. Obviously, the content of the next conversation is not suitable for those outside to hear. Tell me the result of your calculations. Wu Chen said. So far, there are only 3 people we know of who can be involved in the multi-universe: Sorcerer Supreme, Scarlet Witch, and Conqueror Kong. The genetic system begins its imputational analysis. The Ancient One and her inheritor, Dr. Strange, both have the ability to open a multi-universe, but the eternal magic they inherit, that is, the creator of the Book of Wyshandi, is the Asgardian of the dimension. I am afraid they will not allow them feel free to abuse this ability, so in terms of odds, Sorcerer Supreme is the least likely. Scarlet Witch, she has the ability to travel through the multi-universe after coming into contact with the Dark Book. Although the Scarlet Witch in this world has been controlled by you, there may be Scarlet in other parallel universes who will come into contact with the Dark Book. Which, therefore, may have been the cause of all this. Conqueror Kong, he is the world master who was born 1,000 years later, but he is also a time traveler and a parallel world traveler. Perhaps some changes in the future made him realize that this era has an impact on him. The existence of the threat so single-handedly contributed to today's events. The calculation of the genetic system has been completed. So, according to your calculations, who has the highest probability? Wu Chen asked. Sorcerer Supreme has the lowest probability, Conqueror Kong has the highest probability. The genetic system answered. About what I thought. Wu Chen nodded. In his heart, he also believed that the most likely cause of all this was Kong the Conqueror. After all, the appearance of Wu Chen is doomed. In this universe, all original timelines will be destroyed. That is to say, as long as Wu Chen is there, Kong the Conqueror cannot become the master of the world in 1,000 years. Because, Wu Chen's strength and technology are far superior to him. Moreover, Wu Chen's lifespan is more than 1,000 years. When Kong the Conqueror was born, Wu Chen was still in his prime. The appearance of Wu Chen was originally a threat to the Conqueror Kong. When Wu Chen faced a threat, he would choose to kill it in the cradle, and it is not surprising that Kong the Conqueror had the same idea. Therefore, the most likely mastermind behind the scenes is him. There is one biggest doubt about this speculation, said the genetic system. This doubt should mean, why didn't Conqueror Kong come in person? Wu Chen said, yes, if he knows that you are a threat, the safest way is to come in person. With the technological capabilities and powerful army he has mastered 1,000 years later, to deal with you who have not yet fully grown up, it should be most suitable, said the genetic system. There must be some special reason why he can't come directly. Wu Chen guessed. Anyway, let's focus on the present. Wu Chen pulled his thoughts back from the dark matter plane and continued to look at the holographic projection in front of him. The lizardmen are dead, but both Electro and Sandman have fled. Both of them can be integrated into their respective elements, and it is not easy to track them. The big clock locks the general area where the electric man is located. His body is still human, and he cannot be transformed into an electric current state for a long time. Wu Chen said, and the big clock immediately began to collect data, and began to give priority to electric light people. Scope locked. The large clock shows the area where the Electro-Man is located. Cut that area off all power grids to the outside world and completely cut that area off. Wu Chen is in command of the big clock. A new abnormal energy has appeared, and the target locations are relatively scattered and in large numbers. The big clock has not yet implemented the power outage plan, so it has given priority to reminding the latest situation. Wu Chen frowned slightly. Although he is very powerful, it is still a bit of a duplication to deal with so many targets at the same time in this state. Let's go. Vision stepped up and Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver and Hulk were all ready. We'll help too. Rogers also spoke, and they, the Avengers, did not want to see the destruction of this universe. Big Clock, call up the data of those abnormal energy points. Wu Chen said. The big clock immediately began to schedule, and the data of the abnormal energy points scattered all over the place began to appear. Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and the Ultron robot. Ultron robot, Vision, Stark, and Banner were all shocked. It's not surprising that I destroyed the Ultron of this world, but the Ultron of other worlds may not be successful. Wu Chen said. Those Ultron robots are scattered in many places, and the number is huge. I will let the big clock open wormholes for you, so that you can get to the battlefield faster, but other than that, how you want to fight is your own. Quote. Wu Chen said, and then began to focus on dealing with Electro-Optic and Sandman. The first is Electro-Optical Man. You must first lock where he is, then block the entire power grid, and then find the main body to destroy it. Sandman is even more difficult. He was originally integrated into the sand, and there is no strong energy released, so it is extremely difficult to be locked. At the same time, the Avengers and Vision also started to act. They're dealing with Ultron droids from other universes. In order to better control the situation, they only divided into two groups. The Avengers are a team, Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver are a team of 3. The Avengers are not weak in terms of numbers and combat power, but on the Vision side, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver have new equipment blessings. In this state, they were divided into two groups, but they were equally handy in fighting. It's just that Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus, for the time being, no one has come to target them, and they are converging together. This world is too dangerous. With us alone, no matter how many people there are, the final result can only be defeated by each of them. Dr. Octopus said, "This is what I got from that person. It can help us hide our figure and not be found by those people's investigative methods." Green Goblin took out a device, and the red energy in it was the most crucial item in their trip. Since there is such a thing, why not use it earlier? Dr. Octopus asked. This thing has a time limit and can only be used by a small number of people, so we can only use it when it is most critical. Green Goblin said. The critical time. When is the most critical? Dr. Octopus asked again. We need to wait for a group of real powerhouses to arrive. Only by uniting with them can we finally complete the task and eliminate those people. Green Goblin said, and finally added, as long as we can finally complete the task, we can find an opportunity to start over, and then we can get rid of the fate of being killed. I don't care about these. The purpose of my coming here is just to fulfill my wish, to hold the energy of the sun in my hands. Dr. Octopus said, no matter what you want, in short, we have the same goal now, let's act quickly. After Green Goblin finished speaking, he took the lead and walked forward. Dr. Octopus is close behind. And not long after the two went out, the scene where they were being monitored by the big clock disappeared completely. Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus have disappeared from my surveillance. Wu Chen just solved Sandman, and he received a reminder from the big clock. What did you say? Wu Chen is aware of the ability of the big clock, and it is absolutely not easy to lose his whereabouts under its monitoring. Their communication is blocked by some kind of energy, and I can't find it. Said the big clock. In this world, is there still energy that can avoid the communication detection of the big clock? There was a trace of worry in Wu Chen's heart. In the super divine universe, it is difficult for even the third-generation divine body to escape the search for the treasure house of divine knowledge. And all the abilities of the big clock are above the treasure house of sacred knowledge, especially Wu Chen's big clock. After all, the data and computing abilities of several special astronomical computers in the supernatural universe are also stored in the big clock. In this case, the Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus who passed through could still escape the search, so how could it not be worrying? It just hides the traces and the different dimensional energy emanating from them. As long as they use their own abilities or appear under the relevant cameras, they can't hide. Said the big clock. What I'm concerned about now is how on earth did they do it to avoid the search? Wu Chen said. It's definitely not an ordinary communication block, because in this world, there is no supercomputer that can surpass my computing ability. The big clock answered. What else could it be? Wu Chen is still thinking about this question. There are many magical powers in this world, and there is no record in the information database of these powers, so I can't analyze them, just like the magical power of the Ancient One, which I can't fully analyze. Said the big clock. Well, although the ability of the celestial computer is an operation, all operations require an algorithmic basis. You have very little understanding of the Marvel movie universe, and the exploration is still in its infancy. It is reasonable that you cannot fully explore it. Wu Chen nodded. This is not because the ability of the big clock is not good, but because they have never met in the past, they have never understood. It's like a Chinese reading an English book. If you don't know English, how can you understand it? It seems that I have to learn about the strange energies in this world in order to expand the information in the database. Wu Chen said. He has already thought about it. After this event is over, he has to expand the database of the big clock. But for now, the most important thing is to find Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. Even if the other party hides it by special means, there should still be cobweb horse tracks revealed. Start the global scan and give me precise positioning. We must find them as soon as possible. Wu Chen said that the operation speed of the large clock has also begun to increase. However, at such a critical moment, a large red energy spot suddenly appeared on the holographic projection. How is this going? Wu Chen's expression was solemn. A huge number of robots detected, from data analysis, are Ultron robots. Said the big clock. They are constantly breaking into this world, and if we don't eliminate them, then the entire universe will mutate because of the emergence of these energies and eventually collapse. The big clock said, this situation has obviously reached a critical moment. Hateful. Wu Chen cursed angrily. It seems that they have already calculated this time. These Ultron robots are mass-produced in advance. The purpose is to distract us at this time, so that we can't find Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. Wu Chen said. He knew very well that this must be a trick. But even if he knew it was a conspiracy, at this time, he couldn't let those Ultron robots go unnoticed. Transfer the information here to Wakanda and have Black Panther and their men come out to help. Wu Chen said. He has to find a way to solve all this as soon as possible. All those Ultron robots that were recovered earlier were repaired for me, and the space-based computing program was implanted in me, so that they have the ability to fight independently. Also, take some flame-level weapons from my arsenal and give them to the Avengers to strengthen their output ability, so as to eliminate these invading Ultron robots as soon as possible. Wu Chen knew that the current situation was urgent, and he had no time to think about it so much. He just wanted to destroy the invading Ultron robots as soon as possible, and then go find the infiltrating Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. I have reached out to Wakanda, and T'Challa will lead the Royal Guard into the fray. The robot repair has been started, the independent computing program of the space-based computing group has been started, and those robots can be operated at any time to join the battle. Flame-class weapons have been provided to the Avengers. Master, the battle situation is too fierce. If you don't participate in the battle yourself, I'm afraid the battle situation cannot be reversed. Although, Wu Chen has already made all the combat power that can be dispatched on the Earth to join the battle. But the current situation is that the number of these invading Ultron robots is still difficult to control. In the world of the parallel universe, those people are obviously well prepared for the invasion. Just these thousands of Ultron robots, even if all the factories on the Earth are built together, I am afraid that they will not be able to manufacture them without a year and a half. Those recovered robot shells, after re-equipping the Super God chip, are controlled by the space-based computing program, and the combat power is enough to equal 100. The big clock reported the situation. However, before they can be transformed and put into battle, you must take action yourself to contain the surge of parallel world energy, otherwise once this energy reaches its peak, all efforts will be in vain. When the big clock spoke, on the holographic projection in the research room, red dots had spread almost all over the Earth. You are in charge of the overall situation, and the space-based computing group is responsible for the transformation and activation of the Super God robot, and opening the treasure house of sacred knowledge to help me fight. Wu Chen said. This is his first time, in a real sense, to use a celestial-level computer as a background support to participate in a battle. As a large clock plugged in by Wu Chen, it also has the operation programs and knowledge reserves of multiple celestial computers such as a large clock, a small clock, a space-based computing group, a treasure house of sacred knowledge, Tiandao Pagoda and Chenkin. But so far, Wu Chen has never really used the ability of these celestial computers to fight, except for scientific research and some simple global searches based on the big clock. Because, there is no need at all. With the ability of Wu Chen's third-generation super soldier, his genes and weapons in his hand, it is enough to sweep all opponents he has encountered so far. Today, face these crazy influxes of Ultron robots from alternate universes. With Wu Chen's strength, they can be easily crushed. But what Wu Chen needs now is to wipe out these robots quickly before their energy peaks. Therefore, Wu Chen started these methods in order to make his strength stronger, faster, and attack more accurate and effective. Armored, spear in hand, silver wings around it. A lot of people. In the Super God War, the number of people is just a series of numbers. After that, Wu Chen turned into lightning and rushed into the opened wormhole. The next moment, he was on the battlefield, shuttling between the Ultron robots that were walking around. Wu Chen flight is extremely fast. Silver Blade flies faster around him. Where Wu Chen passed, all the Ultron robots that traveled from the parallel universe within a few hundred meters of the surrounding area, without exception, were all scrapped. At the moment, Wu Chen, he is like a greedy snake, roaming around the screen of the game quickly, and then wherever he passes, the red dot quickly disappears. Stark and the others, who had just destroyed the Ultron robot at the original location and returned to the research institute to go to the next battlefield, were all stunned when they saw the scene on the holographic projection. The 6 Avengers joined forces to face the dozens of Ultron robots, and they fought hard for more than half an hour. In just a few minutes, Wu Chen has swept across a large area where there are at least hundreds of Ultron robots. This attack speed is too terrifying. Natasha Romanoff sighed. Those Ultron robots are too scattered, otherwise, all these Ultron robots together would not last 5 minutes in his hands. The sound of the big clock rang. The most powerful celestial computer in the supernatural universe, although it has divided the computing ability into 3 parts, it can still be handy. I have already calculated the next location with more Ultron robots. The wormhole has been opened. Let's go. The big clock said. A new wormhole has formed behind the Avengers. It's right, we don't have time to watch Wu Chen's performance here now. Stark turned around and entered the wormhole first. Alas, it's tiring too. Natasha Romanoff sighed and followed. But it should be said that these weapons are still quite strong. Barton waved the knife in his hand, and the quiver behind him was always full. There is a big clock to supplement him in the way of micro-wormhole transportation, and this archer will not have the embarrassing situation of running out of bows and arrows like the New York War on the battlefield. Let's go, let's smash all those scraps of copper and iron. Thor patted Hulk on the shoulder. Scrap copper and rotten iron. Hulk collided with his fists, and his fight was also enjoyable. In fact, this battle, so far, has been pure slaughter. Those Ultron robots from the parallel world, although they are huge in number, their attack power is not high. In other words, their attack intentions are not obvious. If they didn't exist, they would have caused harm to this universe. Even if they didn't destroy them, it wouldn't matter. Over time, the remodeled robots were thrown into the battlefield. These robots, like Ultron robots, are made of ordinary metal. However, their core driver engine has been upgraded. Super God chip. In fact, it is the driving engine used by the mecha warriors of the Gluttonous Army. In the Big Clock, there is a lot of technology of super god civilization, and what the gluttonous army uses is just an aerospace-level civilization. In this case, it is easy to create this chip with the ability of the Big Clock and load it into the Ultron robot. There is a powerful chip as a foundation, supported by space-based computing programs. Although the robot is an ordinary robot, the combat ability has been improved by leaps and bounds. These robots gradually joined the battle, which relieved the pressure for Wu Chen and the others. Those Ultron robots that kept appearing were suppressed by them. The speed of increase has slowed down, so at Wu Chen's current speed, it is easier to clean up. In just a few hours, most of the Ultron robots around the world have been cleaned up. Wu Chen returned to the Institute. Taking off his armor, Wu Chen looked at the holographic diffraction pattern. The global parallel universe energy is finally stable. Wu Chen was obviously relieved. In the wake of those Ultron robots, the world is in turmoil. Wu Chen is also unprecedented, the first time to attack with all his strength. Although it didn't use any powerful force, the speed was brought to the extreme. The Super God robot has joined the battle, and the Ultron robots that appear next, we can send them directly to destroy them," said the Super Gene System. "The development of events has exceeded my expectations, and my arrival has obviously changed the landscape of the entire Marvel movie universe," Wu Chen said. In the course of this battle, he has discovered the current situation. When he first arrived, because of his agreement with Ancient One, Wu Chen had no way to forcibly interfere with the changes in the situation on Earth. Therefore, although the situation has changed, it is still developing on a normal timeline. But as soon as the agreement was over, Wu Chen had no restraints and began to act. He grabbed Vision directly from the Avengers, and also brought Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver into his own hands. After that, he personally destroyed Ultron, so that this event that would have a huge impact on the development of the entire Marvel movie universe was easily obliterated. This shot directly changed everything. The conflict in the parallel universe was obviously caused by this incident. Your strength is very strong. Although Chaoshan technology cannot directly control the entire universe like infinite gems, it can make you basically invincible. However, a situation like today cannot be controlled by one person alone. The genetic system said, as the product of the highest technology in the super divine universe, as Wu Chen's most powerful assistant, it is its due responsibility to analyze the current situation. I understand what you mean. You are planning to let me build a legion that belongs to me, right? Wu Chen said. There is not only one celestial computer behind any main god. Even Death God Karl has snow beside him and the entire Dark Nebula behind him, said the genetic system. A main god civilization. Wu Chen hesitated. In the past, he only wanted to pursue eternity, but until today, he discovered that in a world that was already chaotic, it was originally very difficult to be alone. Ultron wants to destroy the Earth, Thanos wants to destroy the universe, and now the people behind the parallel universe invasion are coming directly to Wu Chen. To create a civilization is not what I want, but it is not easy to simply create a legion, Wu Chen said. With all kinds of super genetic data recorded in the Big Clock, it is not difficult to create a group of super soldiers, said the genetic system. I will consider the issue of super warriors in the future. Now, it is better to think about it first and create a mechanical army. Wu Chen is more cautious about super warriors, because of super god technology, he will not give it to others easily. Exactly, there are a lot of Ultron robots that invaded this time. You can collect all the wreckage left after they are destroyed, and then remelt the furnace to create a group of pure mecha warriors, Wu Chen said. He already had a basic idea in his mind. In addition, there should be a design plan for the Void Engine in the Big Clock. Create 10 for me, and create 10 Void Warriors of the same level as the Devourer. Devourer, although his strength in a single round is not comparable to the super fighters of more than 3 generations, but after equipping the Void Engine, he can suppress the 3rd generation Angel Warriors. Therefore, as long as the Void Engine is equipped, the power of these 10 mecha warriors must be able to match the existence of 3 top super warriors. Coupled with a group of advanced mecha core, Wu Chen is not considered unmanned. If we really want to rebuild a mechanical army, we can no longer use the existing equipment for processing. The genetic system reports. Well, the current processing plant is too small and the equipment is too old. We have to rebuild a larger one with the latest equipment. Wu Chen said that the genetic system has also begun to prepare the planning plan of the factory. At this time, Vision and the others came back. With the addition of the Super God robot, the global war situation has been stabilized. Now, Vision and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are all idle. Also free are Wakanda's T'Challa and the Royal Guard. T'Challa came to the Institute with 2 men. The situation was urgent, and I didn't have time to ask, what the hell is going on? T'Challa asked, but he received Wu Chen's instructions, and without saying a word, he brought someone into the battle. You don't know what's going on, so you're willing to send troops to help? Scarlet Witch asked. It was my father's decision. T'Challa said. Your father? He didn't have a few words with me. How could he trust me so much? Wu Chen looked at T'Challa curiously. He didn't expect that this time the matter was decided by T'Challa. Father said that if you still need help with your strength, it must be in a critical situation, so I immediately asked me to bring someone out to help without asking why. T'Challa replied, well, he really deserves to be the lord of a country, and he thinks things through more thoroughly. Wu Chen nodded. This time you Wakanda are willing to help, and I will not treat you badly. Next time if you have any difficulties, you can come to me for help, and I will not shirk. Wu Chen's words were very casual. But for T'Challa, it's a pretty good deal. T'Challa knows Wu Chen's strength too well, and getting this promise from him will definitely bring huge amounts of benefits to Wakanda. What's the situation now? Vision asked. I heard the message of the big clock earlier, saying that the world is in chaos. How did it stop the situation suddenly? Scarlet Witch then asked. That's because Wu Chen personally went out and wiped out most of the invading Ultron robots, and now there are Super God robots joining in, which stabilize the situation. The Avengers are also back. The speaker was Natasha Romanoff. When she came back last time, she happened to see Wu Chen take action in person. The scene at that time was so shocking that she would never forget it. The other Avengers, at the moment feel the same as Natasha Romanoff. Even Thor, Stark, and Hulk, who had seen Wu Chen kill the Dark Elves, were shocked by the speed at which Wu Chen killed the Ultron robot. This is a continuous pursuit on a global scale, which means that Wu Chen brushed the entire surface of the Earth within a few hours. And, in the process, kill every Ultron robot with unparalleled precision. These Ultron robots are expected to appear constantly in the future, but in terms of numbers, it should be impossible to reach that peak. Wu Chen said, now that everyone has returned, it is time to arrange the follow-up. With the supernatural robots, the follow-up Ultron robots cannot pose a threat to our universe. But now, there may already be a group of people from a special parallel world sneaking into our world. As Wu Chen spoke, the large clock showed images of Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. These are 2 people from a parallel world, and their original strength is not surprising. But they seem to have some kind of energy in them that can avoid the detection of the big clock. Wu Chen said, and after hearing the last sentence, everyone present finally paid attention. Even the big clock that was hidden under the ground and the yet-to-be-formed celestial gods could detect the big clock couldn't detect the 2 of them. Stark is a smart guy, and he immediately understands the seriousness of the problem. Because of that, now I have to pay attention. Wu Chen said. The 2 of them are not strong originally, so this ability definitely does not come from themselves, and since the people behind them can give them such things, it is very likely that they are planning a conspiracy. And, as soon as the 2 of them disappeared from my surveillance, a massive Ultron invasion broke out. To cover for them at such a high cost, obviously their role is much greater than these Ultron robots, so we have to find them in the shortest time possible. After Wu Chen finished speaking, Rogers walked out immediately. If even the big clock can't find them, what can we do? Rogers asked. Their methods can avoid the detection of the big clock and all technological methods, but with the naked eye, their methods cannot work. Wu Chen said. So, you want us to spread out and search for it? Stark asked. It's not up to you. Don't you know how to ask someone for help? When Wu Chen said this, he looked at Natasha Romanoff and Rogers. These 2 are S.H.I.E.L.D. people, and there must be S.H.I.E.L.D. agents behind them. What Wu Chen needs now is these people scattered all over the world. In the past, with the human and material resources of S.H.I.E.L.D., it would not be difficult to find them on Earth, but now. Natasha Romanoff said finally, hesitating. But now that S.H.I.E.L.D. has disbanded, we've lost those people. Rogers speaks more directly. As for that old Fury, I let him know about Hydra more than a year in advance. Will he have no backs at all? Wu Chen looked at Natasha Romanoff. His eye of insight was not a decoration. Understood. I'm going to find Fury. I hope he can still help us. Natasha Romanoff nodded. Wu Chen opened the wormhole for him. After she crossed the wormhole, she went directly to a stronghold where Fury was. As for how they would negotiate afterwards, Wu Chen did not continue to pay attention. As for you, do whatever you want. Wu Chen looked at the others and said. These people also fought a bloody day today. At the moment, they were all exhausted, so they stopped talking and went to rest. After they left, Wu Chen, together with the big clock, tried to decipher the means Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus used to hide their whereabouts. At such a time, he would definitely not put all his hopes in the hands of outsiders. 2 days passed in a blink of an eye. Wu Chen tried all the available patterns, but still couldn't find the whereabouts of Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. In the past 2 days, we have been changing the frequency of searches and monitoring all the cameras, but we still can't find a trace of the cobweb horse. This is too strange. This is the first time Wu Chen has faced this kind of uncontrollable situation after crossing over. No matter what he was doing, even all the infinite gems, he could plan how to get them. Found it. Suddenly, there was a change in the holographic diffraction pattern projected by the big clock. After changing the frequency again, it finally found the relevant information data. Found it. Wu Chen looked at the information coordinate points on the holographic projection. Open it up and you see the influence of Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. But the next scene made Wu Chen look solemn. Illumination. Standing with Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus is the same group that appeared in the plot of Doctor Strange 2, the Illuminati. Professor X, Black Bolt, Mr. Fantastic, Black Captain Marvel, Captain Carter, Baron Mordo. The performance of this group of people in the movie was a stroke of water, and Scarlet Witch was single-handedly eliminated by Scarlet Witch. But this time, their appearance is obviously not as simple as it seems in the movie. Moreover, with Wu Chen's current strength, if confronted head-on, he's not sure whether he can beat Scarlet Witch, who was a hit in Doctor Strange 2. The reason Wu Chen brought Scarlet Witch under his command from the beginning was to avoid such a terrifying Scarlet Witch from appearing. At least, until Wu Chen has enough strength to compete with him, Scarlet Witch must not be allowed to become that level of existence. Although this is a second-rate Illuminati, I didn't expect that they would actually participate in it. Wu Chen adjusted his mentality. In terms of data, their strength is not weak. They will lose to that Scarlet Witch. In fact, it is not really impossible to beat, but more like a plot kill. The genetic systems evaluation of this group of people is not low. It was originally a plot kill. Wu Chen also admitted this. Scarlet Witch can beat the Illuminati because of the plot kills. Although the members of this Illuminati are not as strong as the authentic Illuminati that Wu Chen learned about before crossing. But its original strength is not very bad. If it weren't for Mr. Fantastic to tell everyone's super ability characteristics, they were targeted by Scarlet Witch one by one. Moreover, this group of people also chose the mode of the gourd baby to save the grandfather, one by one on the ground. Let's go over there. The few of them join forces. It is very likely that they will do something. They can take the initiative and seize the opportunity. Wu Chen said, the dark alloy armor is already equipped on his body. Taking one step forward, Wu Chen has arrived at the location of the Illumination Club retrieved by the big clock. His appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. Mr. Fantastic had a look of surprise on his face. It's only been 2 days, and the energy device that blocks the exploration has no effect. Your strength is really stronger than we thought. Professor X said. In their group, he is the only one in a wheelchair, but his role is the biggest in the Illuminati. You are the Illuminati. Although you are not from this universe, you should all be regarded as the so-called superhero that maintains world peace. How come you all come here to destroy this universe? Wu Chen asked. We didn't want to destroy any world, but if our own world is threatened, we have to do something. Captain Carter said. Threatening your world? Wu Chen looked at Captain Carter suspiciously. I don't know why, but the universe you are in seems to have become the core of all universes, and some of the changes here have directly interfered with other parallel universes. Mr. Fantastic said, "We didn't take the initiative to interact with you, so how could it interfere with your world?" Wu Chen continued to ask. He wanted to know the reason for all this. "You didn't interfere with our universe, but because of you, a person who was supposed to appear in 1,000 years was threatened." Mr. Fantastic said, "What you said should be Kong the Conqueror?" Wu Chen asked. "Yes, he was threatened in this world, and before he was about to disappear in the original timeline, he issued a warning to all other parallel universes." Mr. Fantastic replied, "Kong, the conqueror of all parallel universes." Wu Chen understands that Conqueror Kang's greatest ability is to travel through time and parallel universes. Now, these conquerors are already considering whether to take action against you, and one of the kind conquerors, realizing the danger of all this, took the initiative to contact us and let us come forward and stop you. Professor X said, "Stop me, are you planning to kill me in order to restore the original timeline of this world?" Wu Chen directly incarnates 100,000 Ys today. "We don't want to kill people at will, so if you're willing to retire here, find a deserted planet or stay in a deserted corner, and stop interfering with any major events in the universe, there will be no conflict between us." Captain Carter said, "Understood, you just want me to disappear completely, do nothing for 1,000 years, let the timeline develop, so that Conqueror Kong can still appear normally, so that Conqueror Kong in other parallel universes, also there will be no action." Wu Chen finally understood why the people from the Illuminati were here. "Since you understand, you are willing to do this. I do not want to." Wu Chen didn't wait for Mr. Fantastic to finish his words, and then gave the answer directly. At the beginning, because of Ancient One's relationship, he stayed in the Institute for more than a year and did not interfere with what happened outside, which already made Wu Chen feel helpless. Now, the agreement with Ancient One has ended, and he himself has mastered a lot of super god technology, and his strength has greatly increased. At this time, he wanted to retire again, and he retired for 1,000 years in one breath. How could he agree? "Don't say it's you, even if Kong, the conquerors of all parallel universes, come here together, it is impossible to threaten me." Wu Chen's attitude is clear. "If you insist on doing this, then we have to do something." When Captain Carter spoke, the shield had been taken out from behind. The other Illuminati members, at the moment, are all ready to fight. "Wu Chen, think about it clearly, all this is just the beginning." Professor X's mentality is still relatively stable. Although the Illuminati is powerful, he is more aware of Wu Chen's strength. Unless it is a last resort, Professor X still does not want to have a head-on conflict with Wu Chen. "You're right, all of this is just the beginning." Wu Chen said, "Only, for you, the beginning may be the end." Wu Chen said. Beside him, the silver wings suddenly spread out. Wu Chen is a god who holds supernatural technology. Although he may not be very strange and powerful in terms of strength, in terms of attack methods, he is absolutely unmatched. "Be careful," Professor X reminded him, but just as he was about to step back, there was an extra silver blade on everyone's forehead. No matter how powerful the power is, it can't play its due level under the backward fighting style. Super God technology has always been crushed by technology. The voice of the Super Gene system sounded in Wu Chen's mind. "Yes," Wu Chen replied. "In the past, there was no silver blade, and when faced with the invasion of the Dark Elves, I had to rush to compete with them, but now, I can do it easily and kill invisible." Wu Chen said that he had previously dealt with the Ultron robots that invaded from the parallel universe, and he had to go out in person because there were too many Ultron robots. But now, facing these members of the Illuminati, it doesn't take so much effort. Wu Chen's brows raised slightly, he felt some kind of attack from the spiritual level. His gaze fell on Professor X, who had already retreated into the crowd. The moment the silver blade was aimed at his forehead, he was able to block Wu Chen for a moment with his mental power, allowing himself to retreat to a safe area. "How come you don't seem to be affected?" This time, Professor X's voice appeared directly in Wu Chen's mind. This is his ability, telepathy and mind control. But he clearly saw that at the moment Wu Chen was able to move freely. Telepathy may be able to control normal humans, but it's utterly futile for you to control a super soldier like me. Wu Chen said. He is a super soldier, his brain is more powerful than a supercomputer. Not to mention the big celestial computer clock behind it, the super gene system in the body alone, and its computing ability is enough to make any mental attacks that want to forcibly invade its brain completely useless. Your super ability is very strong, but your brain can't match mine at all. If I want to, I can even. As Wu Chen spoke, his brain suddenly exerted force, and it turned around and started to manipulate Professor X. That's right, he invaded into Professor X's brain. He can sense all the information that Professor X can sense, and Wu Chen can also see the secrets he holds. Professor X, Mr. Fantastic obviously found the problem, but just as he was about to make a move, the silver blade on his forehead came a little closer. Although Wu Chen is controlling Professor X's brain, he can still control the silver blade. It's better not to move, otherwise, I don't mind killing you all directly. There was a bit of chill in Wu Chen's voice. Mr. Fantastic understands that this is a warning. As the other Illuminati members knew, it was a warning. However, some people can't sit still, especially if they think they are powerful enough. For example, the black version of Captain Marvel. On him, light blue light was released, and it was the cosmic energy she possessed that was working. The silver blade stabbed her forehead without hesitation, but in the end, it didn't go in. Oh, the defense is really good. Wu Chen sneered, and a space-time barrier immediately appeared beside her. Thor can last for 6 minutes in there, I wonder how long you can last in there. Wu Chen said that within the space-time barrier, the solar flare ability began to form. The space-time flare was the one used to test Thor's ability. However, at that time Wu Chen deliberately showed mercy, but now, his space-time flare is the real attack method. How is it possible? How is this possible? The black version of Captain Marvel's face is full of surprise. She can walk in the universe, and the temperature of the direct sun can't hurt her. But now, inside this barrier, she feels extremely high temperature, and the temperature is still rising. The temperature in that space is rising rapidly, hurry up and get out of it. Mr. Fantastic saw the strangeness and shouted to remind the Captain Marvel. The black version of Captain Marvel understands how dangerous she is here. At the moment, she gathered the powerful energy in her body and smashed it down according to the barrier. But the next second she regretted it. The energy she shot was directly fed back to the space-time barrier originally, and the temperature of the solar flare inside skyrocketed. Do not. After a whimper, her body was directly melted by the high temperature. This is a space-time flare that is close to the temperature of the sun's surface, and she can't stand it. The death of Captain Marvel angered all members of the Illuminati. But the more so, the less they dared to act, because they all realized how powerful Wu Chen was. Not to mention the time and space flares, even the silver blade on their foreheads, they couldn't bear it. After all, they don't have cosmic energy shields like Captain Marvel. Wu Chen glanced at the members of the Illuminati who had been stunned and dared not move. After making sure that they did not dare to take any more action, he went deep into Professor X's mind again. He wanted to know all the data that Professor X had in his mind, especially the energies Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus had used to hide their whereabouts. Soon, he saw the whole incident. Conqueror Kong, who traveled from the future, told the members of the Illuminati about the situation of the Marvel movie universe where Wu Chen was. After negotiation, everyone in the Illuminati decided that only letting Wu Chen disappear is the safest for all parallel universes. So they started mass-producing Ultron robots to cover their entry into the universe. As for Sandman, Electro, and the like, they're there to cover for Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin. What Wu Chen cared about most was that the energy that allowed the two to avoid the big clock search came from the book of Emperor Weixin. It was the Doctor Strange of that universe who created that energy shield out of the book of Vishanti. Looks like I'll have to find that book. Wu Chen retracted his mind, and in his mind, there was already an additional goal. That records the strongest magic. The Book of Emperor Weixin. Wu Chen is interpreting the information about the Book of Emperor Weixin in detail. But at the moment, a powerful impact of magical energy expelled Wu Chen from Professor X's mind. The next moment, the silver blades that Wu Chen used to control all the Illuminati members shook. It was just a short moment, but it was enough for those who illuminated to react. Black Bolt's opening is a mouth cannon. The powerful onomatopoeia bombarded Wu Chen. The other Illuminati members, at the moment all told to move, spread out. Angel's shield. Wu Chen shouted. In the space in front of him, a shield created by the combination of dark silver and vibranium has appeared. It can be called an onomatopoeic attack with the power of a nuclear bomb, and it all fell on the shield at this moment. Under the shield, the ground was destroyed. But shield originally remained motionless. How is this possible? With the onomatopoeia turned on, Black Bolt couldn't help but make this surprised sound. It should be sound-absorbing steel. His shield is made of vibranium. Mr. Fantastic said. I didn't expect him to have this kind of defensive equipment specifically for me. Black Bolt was talking, and his attack never stopped. You said enough. Summoning the spear, he threw it towards the location of Black Bolt with his backhand. Get out of the way. Captain Carter shouted, and Black Bolt had also seen the spear thrown by Wu Chen. However, after Wu Chen let go of the spear, it was like a shooting star, and it came to him in an instant. It was too late for Black Bolt to escape. Baron Mordo responded quickly, summoning a golden long rope with magic, trying to stop the long spear. But the power carried on the spear was much stronger than he imagined. The long rope touched the long spear and was immediately carried forward by it. Baron Mordo tried to pull with all his strength, but was taken away with him. Seeing that he was about to enter the range of the onomatopoeic attack that Black Bolt had just formed, he threw his hands away. The spear pierced through, and Black Bolt fell to the ground. Quick, take the initiative to attack, don't give him a chance to summon those silver flying darts just now. Captain Carter shouted. At a time like this, none of them had the heart to think about the death of a teammate. Because they knew very well that after a moment's hesitation, all of them had to die. So, Captain Carter, Mr. Fantastic, Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, all four attacked Wu Chen at the same time. Shields, arms, bombs, steel claws, flying from different directions at the same time. No, his strength is far more than that. Professor X at the moment has recovered. When Wu Chen was immersed in the investigation of the Book of Emperor Weishan, he launched a counterattack with all his strength, and only got a chance to let other Illuminati people attack. But now, everyone has joined forces, but it still killed Black Bolt at the beginning. In their Illuminati, the strongest is Professor X, because he can manipulate people's minds. But when it comes to the power of the attack, the strongest are Captain Marvel and Black Bolt. The battle had only just begun, and the two strongest had died, and Professor X's attack was completely suppressed by Wu Chen. There is almost no suspense in this battle. Be careful, Before Professor X's words were finished, a silver blade pierced directly from behind him. Silver blade, the silver blade Wu Chen used to control them all at first. Keisha's silver wings, in the hands of the holy Keisha, they can even form a field, so that everyone who enters this field will be directly attacked by the silver blade. Wu Chen is not as strong as Divine Keisha, and he can't even control the silver blade freely. But he can still do this kind of ability to command a part of the silver blade to launch a quasi-strike. Professor X is the weakest among these people, and is the most inconvenient to move, and what he just said caught Wu Chen's attention. Therefore, Wu Chen shot without hesitation. And Professor X's death made two of the four people who were still attacking frantically choose to turn around and run away. Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus are villains. They were initially unfamiliar with the Illuminati, but joined forces because they had the same goal. At this moment, seeing that the three most powerful superheroes in the Illuminati are dead, they have seen the situation and naturally do not want to stay here, giving their lives in vain. Two timid rats. Captain Carter cursed angrily, but at the moment she was powerless to stop it, because Wu Chen's counterattack had already begun. A sharp silver blade was cutting through the void and stabbing towards Captain Carter's chest. On the other side, Mr. Fantastic, he is facing, is the spear that Wu Chen stabbed in the front. Mr. Fantastic used the rubber method to hide, and he directly glued his body to the gun to seize the weapon in Wu Chen's hands. But soon, Mr. Fantastic regretted it. On the gun, an extremely high temperature was generated. His rubber body was not afraid of ordinary attacks, but the high temperature was his nemesis. What's more, the temperature released by Wu Chen at the moment is directly derived from the conversion of fixed star energy, which is very close to the temperature of the sun. The rubbery body of Mr. Fantastic eventually melted. Clang! There was the sound of metal crashing from behind. The silver blade that stabbed at Captain Carter was actually blocked. However, it was not Captain Carter himself who blocked the silver blade, but Rogers who just came over. The other Avengers, at the moment, have also arrived, and they have found it through the remnants of Nick Fury's men. Rogers, what are you doing? Wu Chen turned around and looked at Rogers, who was standing in front of Captain Carter. Can you wait? Maybe we can end it all without such cruelty. Rogers said, and his purpose was naturally to protect Captain Carter behind him. It's all here, do you think it's still possible to be kind? Wu Chen said, and Rogers only noticed at this moment those who fell around. Of the 6 people of the Illuminati, 4 have died. Just let me try it. Rogers' tone was very sincere, he really didn't want to, and watched Carter die in front of him. Even if this is from another universe. Okay, then I'll give you 2 minutes. Wu Chen said, then spread his wings and chased in the direction Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus fled. He was going to find the 2 men, to find the device they had used to block the clock search. Is this the device used to block our tracking? Wu Chen looked at the scabbard-like device in his hand, and the Eye of Insight was scanning the detailed information above. It's a very special energy mode, similar to a time-space corridor. Said the genetic system. Time and space corridor. Wu Chen thought. It means that if you hide yourself in the space-time corridor, then in the exploration of the outside world, they do not exist, so we can't see it, right? Wu Chen asked. Yes, this is a special energy application mode. In the Super God universe, the super warriors of the Kamigawa civilization occasionally use this method to seal some special existences. The genetic system answered. Big Baron. Wu Chen remembered the guy who was rescued by Morgana and then hacked to death by Lu Chuang without doing anything. Right, the genetic system answered. If it's the one that sealed Big Baron, it shouldn't be difficult to find. Wu Chen said. The energy of the composition is different, and at the beginning, I didn't expect that there are people in this world who know how to use this technology, so there is no targeted search. The genetic system answered. The energy that constitutes. Wu Chen looked at the device again. What kind of existence is the Book of Emperor Weishan? Wu Chen has become more and more interested in the magic book that records the strongest magic in the Marvel movie universe. Looks like it's time to officially stand out with Ancient One and her magicians. Wu Chen has made up his mind. Throwing the device into the plane of dark matter, Wu Chen turned around and returned to the position where he had previously fought the Illuminati. The Avengers have buried the fallen Illuminati. Captain Carter and Baron Mordo, with the 2 surviving, at the moment have also quieted down. Apparently, Rogers and Captain Carter had talked to figure out what the hell was going on. We've already agreed that Carter and Baron Mordo will return to the original universe and stop sending Ultron robots over. Seeing Wu Chen's return, Rogers explained the situation immediately. Okay, as long as they don't bother me again, I won't bother to bother with them. Wu Chen said. Although the Ultron robot has now been suppressed by the Super God robot transformed by Wu Chen, it is still annoying to keep coming in for a long time. Since Captain Carter wants to exchange this for him and Baron Mordo to return to the original universe, Wu Chen will naturally not object. Anyway, the 2 of them can no longer pose a threat to themselves. But now we have a problem that we have to negotiate with you. Stark stepped forward, and the other Avengers, including Nick Fury and others, were also looking at Wu Chen. What do you want to negotiate? You also plan to let me hide and not come out for 1,000 years like these people from the Illuminati? Wu Chen understood that after these people knew the reason for the Illuminati's action, they would definitely ask themselves about it. You don't have to hide, as long as you don't take the initiative to interfere with the big events in this world, just go and live like an ordinary person. Stark said. Live like a normal person. Do you think it's possible? Wu Chen asked back. Why is it impossible? Haven't you been living on the island for more than a year, and didn't have any effect on the original timeline of our world? Stark said. No effect. If I don't take action, you won't be able to pass the Ultron level easily, right? Wu Chen said. The relationship between him and the Avengers was not good, but what Wu Chen did was originally to help these Avengers. In the battle with Ultron in Sokovia, the original Quicksilver was to be sacrificed, and Hulk was also sent to outer space, which later became the fuse that spawned the Avengers' Civil War. But now, the Ultron incident has been resolved by Wu Chen, all the superhero have not died, and Hulk is still on Earth safe and sound. Definitely, your life and death have nothing to do with me. Wu Chen continued. As long as I go back to my island, the light energy barrier and the space-time barrier are opened. Even if the entire Earth is destroyed, it will not hurt me in the slightest. So, I don't care about anything else you have to do. Wu Chen didn't care about the previous battle between Iron Man and Aldrich Killian, and the battle between S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra. Why do you interfere with the Ultron incident since you don't even want to bother? Fury stepped forward. He had been holding back for a long time, and this would finally find a chance to ask. Because it's about infinite gems. Wu Chen said the answer without thinking. Why do you want to get infinite gems? With your strength, even without infinite gems, no one in this world can threaten you. Thor said, 1 infinite gems really won't threaten me, but what about 2 or 3? What if one day Thanos gets all the gems? Wu Chen asked back. The infinite gems are kept separately, and Thanos has not been able to find them for thousands of years. How could it be so easy? Why is it impossible? Wu Chen interrupted Thor, who turned his attention to Carter and Baron Mordo. You have seen the future Conqueror Kong. He told you about the future timeline. He must have said that Thanos of this universe finally found all the infinite gems, and with a snap of his fingers, he took half of the life of the entire universe. Wu Chen said. When Carter heard Wu Chen's words, he chose to remain silent. Carter. Rogers knew this was a big deal, and he wanted Carter to tell the truth. Yes, Thanos found it, but you also found a solution afterwards, and restored half of the life that was killed. In the end, Carter told the truth. Although Carter knew that as long as she said it, it would interfere with the future development of the timeline. But Wu Chen had previously controlled Professor X and had already seen everything, and the timeline had already been affected. Now, I can only hope that such influence will be less than Wu Chen's direct intervention. Since it can be solved, then, there is a 1 in 10 million chance of success. How do you know that you will be able to do it this time? Wu Chen interrupted Rogers. I'm a layman and I don't trust anyone but myself when it comes to my life. Wu Chen made his stand. I don't care what you think, but if anyone wants to stop me, then he is my enemy. I will never be soft on the enemy. After Wu Chen said this, an incomparably powerful energy was instantly released from his body, causing everyone present to have chills on their backs and cold sweats. Chapter 31. Wu Chen returned to the Institute. Carter and Baron Mordo have returned to their universe, and the constantly Ultron droids are no longer present. The Avengers gather at the Stark building. Nick Fury, Hill Agent, and a few other superheroes, at the moment are all here too. Everyone already understands the current situation, so let's talk about your suggestions. Rogers said. Everyone here at the moment is actually extremely depressed. They had just experienced a global catastrophe. Then they knew that there were 2 greater disasters to come. A destroyer who wants to destroy half of life in the universe. A conqueror seeking revenge for being threatened by an altered timeline. In terms of probability, it is definitely the most appropriate to choose Wu Chen's side. Natasha Romanoff spoke first, and her opinion was also the opinion of the vast majority of people present. Wu Chen took the infinite gems to stop Thanos, but it also attracted Kong the Conqueror. Why did he choose to side with Wu Chen? What if Kong the Conqueror was more terrifying than Thanos? Rhodes' War Machine expressed the doubts in his heart. It's not just in case, but Kong the Conqueror will definitely be more terrifying than Thanos. Stark said. Just from this incident, you can know that the Ultron robots and the Illuminati who came from the parallel universe are not only numerous but also powerful. Banner said. This is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that they are willing to break into our universe because they are afraid of Kong the Conqueror. This means that they are afraid of Kong the Conqueror. Barton said. Since we know that the Conqueror is so terrifying, why should we provoke him? Rhodes asked. That's because, if we don't want to provoke conquerors, we have to provoke Wu Chen. Fury gave an answer, and Rhodes hesitated inexplicably when he heard what he said. Thanos is the enemy we have to face no matter what, and between Kong the Conqueror and Wu Chen, we are faced with a choice between 2. To avoid fighting one, we must take the initiative to fight the other. Rogers said. Then what do you mean? Wu Chen is more terrifying than the one named Kong the Conqueror. Sam Falcon has listened to it for so long, and he has realized that the key to the matter. Now, that's all the problem with the Avengers' hesitation. In the end is to provoke Wu Chen, or provoke the Conqueror Kong. We don't know who is more terrifying, but we all have to understand now that both of them are enough to bring a devastating disaster to our universe. Stark said, "That guy named Wu Chen, is he so powerful? All of us together can't control him." Rhodes has never played against Wu Chen, nor has he seen Wu Chen play against others, so he has no idea how strong Wu Chen is. Yeah, is he strong? Sam has the same doubts as Rhodes. Strong, let's put it this way, just 2 days ago, he cleaned up all the Ultron robots that appeared scattered all over the Earth's surface within 2 hours. Natasha Romanoff's answer left both Rhodes and Sam stunned. In 2 hours, it swept the entire Earth. With the two of them, it would be impossible to fly around the Earth in 2 hours. The strongest combination from the Earth in another universe, he didn't hold on to it for even half an hour, and the whole army was wiped out. Barton gave Rod and Sam another fill-in. When I was in contact with him before, he turned into a light ball comparable to a nuclear bomb, which made him anxious, and I am afraid it would be an easy thing to destroy the Earth. Fury's fill-up stabbed Rod and Sam in the heart. The most important thing is that Wu Chen already has 2 infinite gems in his hand, and there is one more in there, which is a reality gem that can rewrite reality. Thor just followed everyone's words, but this made both Rhodes and Sam's hearts cool. After a while, the two recovered. Then think of a ball. It must be on Wu Chen's side. Rhodes said, "Yes, we should side with Wu Chen." Sam agrees. However, on the Conqueror Kang's side, we can't handle the same. Stark thought about it the most. He also knew the situation in front of him, but he was still the most undecided. Conqueror Kang's personal strength may not be as good as Wu Chen, but he exists in all multi-universes at the same time, which means that we are not fighting against one Conqueror Kang, but countless. Stark continued, they may constantly send more powerhouses from other cosmic sources, like the Illuminati today. It is also possible that all the conquerors will come together and launch a devastating attack on our world that will spread to the entire universe. Everyone understood Stark's analysis. Offending Wu Chen, they are facing an enemy whose combat power is unimaginable. But to offend Kang the Conqueror, what they have to face is the countless conquerors that may exist in the multi-universe and the various forces he may mobilize. Everyone was hesitant. No matter which side it is impossible for them to deal with it. No matter which one it is, it will bring devastating disaster to the Earth and this universe. To choose one of the two in this situation, even if they knew it was difficult for them to compete with Wu Chen at the moment, it was still difficult to decide. Also at the moment, a golden circle of light appeared in the hall. It was a portal, but the person who opened the portal was not Ancient One, but her new disciple, Strange. That is, Doctor Strange. What you think is meaningless at all. Doctor Strange said, "You are the Doctor Strange mentioned by Baron Mordo, who has the channel to open the multi-universe." Stark looked at Doctor Strange, and everyone in the room was looking at Doctor Strange. "I'm Stephen Strange, and I'm really thinking of a code name that suits me recently, so the Doctor Strange in your mouth should be me." Doctor Strange replied, "Since you have come here, you must know the current situation and have your own ideas, right?" Fury looked at Doctor Strange. He knew that this person would be the key, and he also wanted to know what this person with magical abilities could bring to their group. "I do have some ideas, but now, you have to come with me to see my teacher." As Doctor Strange said that, he made a gesture of invitation while letting go of the portal behind him. Those so-called superheroes have moved to Kamar Taj. The genetic system reports the latest, where the superheroes are going. Kamar Taj. Wu Chen raised his head. It looks like Ancient One is going to come forward in person and join forces with these superheroes. Wu Chen said, "The current situation is changing too fast and too serious. Since Ancient One is the Asgardian of the real world, it is only natural for her to take it seriously." Vision stepped forward. He is now Wu Chen's subordinate, and he will stay here when he has nothing to do. Along with him are Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. As for Foster and Daisy, the two living here have been very quiet lately. Come to think of it, Foster and Daisy know that the relationship between Wu Chen and the Avengers is very complicated. In this complicated state, Foster, as Thor's girlfriend, could only try not to attract other people's attention, so as to avoid getting involved. "What about you? What are the three of you thinking?" Wu Chen turned around and looked at the three subordinates he had officially accepted. "There is no destined future in this world," and it is wrong for them to stop you for this reason. Vision said, I don't understand this, but I only know that if someone threatens my life and I have the ability to protect myself, I won't turn my life over to someone else to take care of. Quicksilver also explained its attitude. Scarlet Witch wanted to say something, but she didn't know how to say it. In fact, she has always had a strange feeling after the people from the parallel universe appeared in this universe. It seems that some mysterious and powerful force is constantly calling upon her. Wanda's mood is very unstable, and the energy in her body is also in a state of restlessness. The big clock monitors the world, and naturally everything in the research room. These changes in Scarlet Witch have been observed by the big clock. Wanda. Wu Chen looked at Scarlet Witch, his eyes of insight opened, and he was learning about Scarlet Witch's situation in detail. I feel that a mysterious and powerful energy is calling to me. Scarlet Witch answered honestly. That's the Dark God book. After combining with your own origin magic power, you may become the strongest magician in this world. Even me, it may not be able to be your enemy. Wu Chen also told her the truth. What kind of book is that? Does it really have that much power? Quicksilver was shocked, but he was also more curious about the existence of the so-called Dark God book. However, Scarlet Witch's heart was even more uneasy. That book won't just give me energy, will it? Scarlet Witch asked. You guessed right, the Dark God book will not only give you powerful magical power, but also affect your mind. It is very likely that you will lose your mind and eventually become a magician that will give you this universe, and even all universes. Evil magician who brings destructive disaster. Wu Chen said, I knew that the power that summoned me made me uneasy. Scarlet Witch got the answer she wanted, and she knew the reason for her unease at the moment. Actually, origin magic power originally existed in your body. It was only under the influence of Mind Gem that this power began to wake up. Wu Chen said, the picture projected by the big clock changed from the earth to the Scarlet Witch. The red energy roaming in Scarlet Witch's body is the origin magic power contained in her body, but at the moment, this magic power is not particularly powerful, and it is very restrained. Since this power is originally in your body, as long as you can master the method, you should be able to develop this power even without the help of the Dark God book. Wu Chen said, but what if I can't control it? Scarlet Witch asked. I will guide you personally and will always be on the lookout for changes in your body, mind and energy. Wu Chen said, and added at the end, I will not let a person who may threaten me run wild in my hands. Then why didn't you just start? You have to remember that no one can kill you for any reason, not even yourself. Wu Chen interrupted Scarlet Witch. Big Clock, open up an event space for me, and Wanda and I will be there in the future to get in touch with how to use origin magic power. Wu Chen didn't talk to Scarlet Witch anymore, but let the big clock start executing the plan. Scarlet Witch looked at Wu Chen like this and didn't say anything more, but her heart was excited and contradictory. The atmosphere in the research room began to quiet down. You all go down and have a good rest, Wu Chen said. Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Vision, the three nodded silently and left. After 2 or 3 days of fighting against the Illuminati and Ultron robots, they did need a break. After they left, the holographic projection was replaced again, returning to the screen of global surveillance. In a hidden place in the Himalayas, there are many superheroes on Earth. Ancient One did not deliberately avoid Wu Chen, because she did not open the world of mirrors to avoid Wu Chen's prying eyes. Wu Chen didn't bother to listen to what these people were negotiating, so he swept away the picture and threw it into the big clock's database. On Kamar Taj's side, the Ancient One's meeting with the superhero lasted several hours. But after the meeting, all the superheroes suddenly fell silent. Stark transformed a warehouse under his name into a base for the Avengers, where the original Avengers and new additions Sam and Lord live. But not long after that, they separated again. Stark went back to his home. Rogers and Sam set out to find Winter Soldier Bucky, who was still alive. Thor came to Wu Chen's research institute and took Foster to a 2-person world. Banner and Natasha Romanoff lived in the Avengers base, but every time Hulk appeared, he would definitely run back to the institute as soon as possible. Banner and Hulk are one body, but they are completely 2 people. Hulk is Wu Chen's loyal little brother, and Banner, for various reasons, doesn't know how to face Wu Chen now. But no matter how you look at it, everything seems to have suddenly returned to the right track. Even Wu Chen and his 3 subordinates in the research institute entered this state. Vision and Quicksilver go out and play every now and then. After the training ground was built, Wu Chen personally accompanied Scarlet Witch in training to help him control Origin magic power. This is supposed to be a stormy Earth. It was so eerily calm at the moment. A catastrophe sweeping the world suddenly fell silent. All the superheroes are back to their normal lives. Even Wu Chen, who is the core, has resumed his small days of researching supernatural technology and eternity in the Research Institute. But everyone knows in their hearts that this is just an illusion. In the blink of an eye, half a year has passed. Your island, the environment is really good. Ancient One was sitting on a beach chair, drinking coconut juice and looking at the blue sea and blue sky. Master Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One, there will be such a casual scene, which is really difficult to adapt to. Wu Chen is also enjoying it. But he was somewhat surprised by the sudden appearance of Ancient One. It wasn't because of her arrival, but because she came, she was just like herself, laying leisurely on the beach by the sea and enjoying the nature. Magician is also a human being. If you don't know how to enjoy it, wouldn't these hundreds of years be exhausting me? Ancient One said. 2. Wu Chen replied casually. For several hours after that, the 2 of them lay on their backs quietly, blowing the sea breeze, very comfortable. This style of painting is too weird. On the balcony of the Research Institute, Quicksilver watched this scene and couldn't believe it. The 2 of them are the strongest people on this earth. The world in their eyes is probably not the same as ours. Vision said. It's not as complicated as you think. Scarlet Witch came out of the room and smiled slightly after seeing Ancient One and Wu Chen's actions. For the past few months, she has been with Wu Chen. Wu Chen taught her to control Origin magic power, and at the same time, she gradually understood the essence and character of Wu Chen. It is said that it is a long-term relationship, and perhaps in Scarlet Witch's heart, he also has an inexplicable affection for Wu Chen. The last few times you came back from going out, your condition is getting better every time. It seems that Wu Chen helped you with special training, and you have gained a lot. Quicksilver took a close look at Scarlet Witch and said. Scarlet Witch smiled and nodded. On the side, Vision's expression changed slightly, but quickly recovered. In his heart, some budding thoughts have been suppressed by him. On the beach, Wu Chen stretched slowly. The sky is empty, and it's noon so soon, I'm a little hungry. Wu Chen said. I'm a little hungry too, are you in charge of entertaining? Ancient One also stood up. It's rare for you to come to me this time. If I don't even serve lunch, I'll be a little rude. Wu Chen said, and took the lead in walking back towards the Research Institute. Ancient One picked up and drank ordinary coconut juice and followed. On the Institute's side, Scarlet Witch saw the 2 of them approaching, so he rose straight into the air and landed at the door. Wanda, is this meal ready? Wu Chen asked. It's all ready, there are braised carp and mapo tofu that you like to eat. Scarlet Witch's answer, too, was so casual, as if it all came naturally. Oh, did you learn how to cook these 2 dishes? Wu Chen looked over in surprise. It can be cooked. As for whether it is delicious or not, I don't know. Scarlet Witch replied. Well, it's not bad to be able to cook it, at least it's better to try it than to dare not try it. Wu Chen nodded, then turned his head to look at Ancient One. It's unfortunate that you came here, so you can only be a guinea pig for Wanda and try the dishes with me. Wu Chen said. It's noon today, eating braised carp and mapo tofu, you're not afraid of getting tired? Ancient One said. Occasionally, not every day. Wu Chen replied. Okay, then go ahead and try to see how well Wanda's cooking is. After Ancient One finished speaking, he stepped into the house. Scarlet Witch and Wu Chen looked at each other, both smiled slightly, and then walked in. The 3 came to the restaurant together, and both Quicksilver and Vision had also come. Looking at the several dishes on the table, the most eye-catching ones are naturally the braised carp and mapo tofu. It felt weird to eat this meal at noon, but it took Scarlet Witch so long to cook it himself that they would be embarrassed if they didn't eat a single bite. 1 sip per person, Vision and Quicksilver are obviously not suitable. However, Ancient One and Wu Chen nodded in satisfaction. It's not bad for a novice to do this level. Ancient One commented. Wanda is ingenious and can learn everything quickly, there is no doubt about that. Wu Chen also appreciates it. It's good to eat, Scarlet Witch said with a smile. After that, these 5 people just had a meal together happily. In the blink of an eye, another half-day passed, and in a blink of an eye it was already sunset. With no one else around, Wu Chen and Ancient One came to the roof of the Institute and looked at the red sky. You've been here with me for a day, shouldn't you tell me the real purpose of your coming here? Wu Chen asked. Ancient One came in the morning, sunbathing, eating lunch, chatting and so on, and now it's already evening. Bother you for something? Ancient One and Wu Chen didn't have much interaction in the past, but today they came here, obviously there is something special. I've actually been thinking about whether to give it to you or not. Ancient One said, grabbed it in midair, and a green gem appeared in his hand. Time gem. Wu Chen naturally recognized what that green gem was. Every Sorcerer Supreme is an Asgardian of Time Gem and an Asgardian of the real world. After Ancient One finished speaking, he released his right hand, and the gem disappeared. You should know very well that I am not very interested in protecting the world or anything. Wu Chen said, you really don't want to protect sentient beings like other superhero, but you will never allow someone to threaten you. Ancient One paused, then continued. Every crisis from another dimension or involving the time gem will affect the entire Earth and even the entire universe, so you won't stand by and watch everything that happens in this situation. Without the skin and the hair, the world is destroyed. How can I continue to survive in this world? Wu Chen said. So, from this point of view, it seems appropriate to give you the time gem. Ancient One said. But you haven't decided yet. Do you have any concerns? Wu Chen asked. Indeed. Ancient One replied. If you are willing to serve as the Asgardian of XG to the holy place, my concerns will be completely gone. XG to holy place. Are you trying to make me the last barrier to guard the reality dimension? Wu Chen finally understood the real purpose of Ancient One's coming here. The purpose of Ancient One's coming here is to hope that Wu Chen will become the Asgardian of XG to holy place. The existence of the 3 holy places can ensure that people from the dark dimension such as Dormammu cannot invade the real world. With Wu Chen sitting in one of them, at least the ultimate safety can be ensured. You don't like to meddle in your own business, but the safety of this place is related to the entire dimension of reality, and you wouldn't stand idly by, so this is the same as your original. I can agree to your terms. Wu Chen didn't wait for Ancient One to finish speaking. But, I also have my conditions. Wu Chen said. Conditions? You've got the time gem, what more do you want? Ancient One looked at Wu Chen and said this time that Wu Chen would be the holy place Asgardian, but agreed that he would give him the time gem. Book of Emperor Weishan. What did you say? This time, Ancient One was also taken aback. The Book of Emperor Weishan, that is the highest level other divine book in the legends of the magicians. In other parallel universes, your good apprentice used the Book of Weishandi to open the door to parallel universes, and also created tools that can temporarily avoid the monitoring of my ability, so I am very curious about this book. Wu Chen said. The Book of Emperor Weishan is the sacred relic of all magicians, but now, no one knows where he is. Ancient One replied. No, you know, it's just that you, who have been in contact with dark magic, don't want to use the purest magic power anymore, so you chose to hide it. Wu Chen said. Although it is never stated in the movie, Ancient One owns the Book of Vishandi. But the Ancient One is the Sorcerer Supreme, and has lived for hundreds of years, how could she possibly know nothing about this Book of Vision? Even if I don't promise you, you can't stand idly by the invasion of the dark dimension. Ancient One thought for a moment and said. You're right, if it's time for the dark dimension to invade the real world, I can't help but stop it. Wu Chen admitted this. Since you will protect the world you live in, I don't have to let you be the Asgardian of the holy place, so it's unreasonable for you to bargain with me at this time. Ancient One said. Since you didn't need me to do anything for you in the first place, but you still came over to trade with me for time gem, it wasn't reasonable originally. Wu Chen said. When something unreasonable happens to a sorcerer supreme like you, there must be something else. Wu Chen said. He knew from the moment he crossed over that the Ancient One was the one he needed to deal with most carefully on the entire Earth. Later, Wu Chen mastered the 3rd generation of super genes, and there are many means, so he cannot be afraid of Ancient One. But he never despised the Ancient One, not even Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch and Thor. In terms of technology, Wu Chen is confident that with the supernatural technology, he can walk sideways in the Marvel movie universe. But magic, divine power, he still doesn't understand. Infinite gems come together to destroy the universe. Magician can open parallel universes and destroy the world. The power of the gods is sometimes strong and weak. Although Wu Chen has been trying to deal with these people, he can target every superhero or supervillain through the flexible application of supernatural technology. But no one can guarantee that there will be no accidents. What Wu Chen needs is to completely prevent accidents from happening. In the last life, because of an accident, he was 20 all the year round. Wu Chen is now the third generation. Super genes can be based on energy eternity, but if he dies accidentally, what is the use of eternity? Knowing yourself and knowing your enemy can win 100 battles. Wu Chen didn't understand magic, so he wanted to learn about magic. Therefore, after the Illuminati invasion incident, Wu Chen always wanted to get in touch with the magical world, and wanted to find the Book of Emperor Weishan. Your presence is definitely not just to make me an Asgardian in the holy place, so I can promise you that as long as you give me the Book of Weishandi, I will help you do what you want me to do. Wu Chen expressed his attitude. Ancient One hesitated for a long time. Okay, I can tell you where the Book of Emperor Weishan is, but whether you can find it or not has nothing to do with me. Ultimately, Ancient One made a decision. Okay, I will also promise what you ask me to do next, as long as it is within my power. Wu Chen answered in the same way as Ancient One. Tell me, apart from your intention to let me guard the holy place, what other unkind request do you have? Wu Chen asked. I hope you can help me destroy all the dark books. Ancient One said. Destroy the dark book. Wu Chen's face froze. The dark books, in the Doctor Strange 2 movie, Wanda ended up destroying them all. But now, Wanda doesn't have the dark book of God at all, and it won't cause such a catastrophe in the future. Why should Wu Chen destroy it at this time? After the Illuminati invasion incident, I learned that in that universe, in order to fight Thanos, Strange finally used the power of the Dark Book of God, and as a result, he was eventually killed by the Illuminati. Quote. Ancient One said. So, you don't want Strange in this world to end up like the Strange in that universe? Wu Chen asked. Strange is a magical genius, and his future may be beyond my current heights, so I don't want him to end up going astray. Ancient One's expectations for Doctor Strange are still very high. The Book of Darkness exists in all parallel universes at the same time, and it is impossible to destroy all of them unless you come into contact with the Book of Darkness originally. Wu Chen said that Wanda in the movie finally destroyed all the dark gods, and did it after the dark gods ended. You will have a way. If it really doesn't work, you can help Strange in this universe keep his heart, and that's good. Ancient One didn't force it. Well then, I'll help you look after your little apprentice. Wu Chen said. Ancient One saw that Wu Chen had agreed, and the stone in his heart finally fell to the ground. When she didn't know it, she could not think about it, and after knowing it, she couldn't ignore it. She could only say that the arrival of the Illuminati not only changed the other superheroes but also changed her and Kamar Taj's magicians. Ancient One took out the time gem again and handed it to Wu Chen. Clues about the Book of Weishandi were also reported to Wu Chen. After that, Ancient One left, and Wu Chen had probably guessed what she was going to experience next. The contest between the magician and the dark magician is actually in full swing. Not long after the Ancient One left, the Great Clock got the news. The holy place in London has been destroyed. The battle between Ancient One and Caecilius and other dark magicians has officially begun. Will things still be the way they were? Wu Chen stood in front of the holographic projection, looking at the data information retrieved by the big clock. After entering the mirror world, Ancient One and Caecilius and others, Wu Chen can't see it. But once they get outside, the big clock will catch them as soon as possible. Ancient One gave you the time gem, and then let you watch Doctor Strange not let him touch the dark book, so she must have been mentally prepared to accept death. Said the genetic system. Use your own death to achieve others, you have to admire this kind of person. Wu Chen said with emotion. Everyone's life pursuit will be different, and no one is right or wrong. As long as you don't do things that hurt others and yourself, that's enough. Said the genetic system. Things that harm others and not themselves are only done by stupid people. Wu Chen took it. It was at the moment that things changed. The mirror space was reopened, and Doctor Strange came out with the Ancient One. Just like the scene in the movie, Ancient One is wounded. It's still the same as in the movie, Ancient One is seriously injured and dying. Wu Chen said, but there was an inexplicable emotion in his tone. There is a treatment plan in the big clock. An injury like this can be easily handled. The genetic system warned. So, you mean you want me to save her? Wu Chen asked. A dead Sorcerer Supreme or a living Sorcerer Supreme, which one is better? You should actually make a judgment in your heart. Genetic systems will only make judgments based on data. Getting the time gem and knowing the clues to the Book of Wyshandi, this is a favor I owe Ancient One. If I save her today, it can be regarded as a favor, and what Doctor Strange will do in the future will naturally have if Ancient One takes care of me, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Wu Chen said. And, with the Ancient One, it's easier for you to learn everything about magic. Genetic systems added. In that case, start the rescue procedure and transfer the Ancient One to the Research Institute. Wu Chen said. The big clock was also the first to start the first aid procedure. The transfer of the micro-wormhole directly transferred the Ancient One to the Research Institute, and the dark energy conversion process began, and the big clock was responsible for the treatment of the wounds of the Ancient One. Ancient One, who was still chatting with Doctor Strange in a soul astral way in the hospital, also sensed changes in his body at the moment. How come? Ancient One turned to look in the direction of the Research Institute. Master, what's wrong with you? Doctor Strange asked suspiciously. My body. No, Stephen, the person you sent, her body suddenly disappeared. Before Ancient One could answer, the people in the hospital shouted anxiously. Disappearing. What's going on here? Doctor Strange looked bewildered. Wu Chen, he transferred my body to his research institute. Ancient One said. Wu Chen, that guy who made the Avengers love, hate and helpless? Doctor Strange asked. The only person on Earth who will do this now is him. Ancient One said. You open the portal, let's go take a look. As soon as Ancient One's voice fell, Doctor Strange opened the portal. The two came to the research hall of the institute together. Wu Chen was standing in front of the operating table, and his eyes were falling on the holographic projection. There is the image of XG Holy Place. According to Wu Chen's previous agreement with Ancient One, he is now the Asgardian of the Holy Place, and it is his duty to ensure that the Holy Place is not destroyed. Furthermore, it was impossible for Wu Chen to let Dormammu really come to this dimension. XG's Holy Place. Doctor Strange also noticed where the picture in the holographic projection was. Wu Chen, what are you planning to do? Ancient One came to Wu Chen. She is in the state of soul astral at the moment, and she cannot be seen by ordinary mortals. But Wu Chen has the eye of insight. He can see things that ordinary people can't see, including the soul astral, which is similar to a spiritual body. You are seriously injured, and it happens that I have a medical plan here. It's okay to help you, right? Wu Chen said. I don't have this clause in my agreement with you. Don't you like to meddle in your own business? When Ancient One came to Wu Chen before, she didn't mention anything related to her, so she originally thought that Wu Chen would ignore her situation. You asked me to help you watch over Strange, and now I'll let you live, so you can watch him yourself, won't I save trouble? When Wu Chen said this, he also glanced at Doctor Strange. Then I have to make it clear to you in advance that even if I am still alive, the agreement between you and me will continue to be implemented. You can't keep your word. Ancient One understood Wu Chen's intentions, and immediately expressed his attitude. Then see it in time. Wu Chen replied casually. It was at this time that the monitor screen on the holographic projection changed. Caecilius and his minions all appeared. These dark magicians who absorbed the energy of the dark dimension, were planning to destroy the last holy place that blocked Dormammu from entering the real world. Now, I'll fulfill my promise with you first. Wu Chen turned around. The dark alloy armor was quickly equipped on him, and the wormhole had formed in front of him. One step out, he arrived at the door of the holy place. Caecilius and the others, who were quickly approaching the holy place, suddenly stopped when they saw Wu Chen, who appeared suddenly. Although Caecilius and the others had never met Wu Chen, they had also heard about Wu Chen. That is the existence that makes all superhero on the whole earth a headache. What are you doing here? Caecilius stepped forward and questioned. You want to destroy the holy place and summon Dormammu to devour the real world. What else do you think I'm here for? Wu Chen asked back. Although your power is very powerful, your energy is nothing compared to the lords of the dark dimension. Do you really think you can stop us, who have received the dark energy bestowed by Lord Dormammu? After defeating the Ancient One, Caecilius' self-confidence exploded. Even if he knew that Wu Chen was not easy to mess with, he was not really afraid of Wu Chen. Then you can try it out and see if I can do it. Wu Chen said, and in his hand, he summoned the signature spear. Give it to me. With a wave of Caecilius, all the dark magicians swarmed up. They summoned transparent blades and various magical moves in their hands, and greeted Wu Chen. Wu Chen stood on the spot, although the spear was in hand, the silver blade that could be used to attack first. The silver blade was summoned silently, and then stabbed the dark magician's body like a ghost. The silver blade's attack was something the dark magicians didn't expect, and they couldn't dodge. But after the silver blade stabbed into the dark magicians, it failed to kill them, which Wu Chen did not expect. Silver blade's attack turned out to be ineffective. Wu Chen's face froze, he didn't expect such a scene to appear. In the bodies of these dark magicians, they possess the energy of the dark dimension endowed by Dormammu. In a sense, they are also immortal. The genetic system answered. The silver blade is a god-killing weapon. Originally, it is a weapon that destroys the energy in the opponent's body so that it cannot repair its own damage. Wu Chen said, they have energy in their bodies, but they have no life. They belong to the dark creatures dominated by Dormammu, similar to zombies. Said the genetic system. In other words, it can't be killed no matter what, right? Wu Chen asked. He remembered that in the movie Doctor Strange and the others couldn't kill these dark magicians. But what he masters is super god technology. If even super god technology can't deal with these dark creatures, then these dark creatures are too scary, right? If you use the energy that is compatible with it, then even if they are transformed into monsters that are not human or ghosts, they should still be able to be killed. The genetic system warned. The energy to counter it. Wu Chen pondered that the energy of this dark dimension should be opposite to the light magic used by magicians, but obviously, Doctor Strange and their magic can't deal with these dark creatures. Light that illuminates the darkness. A title suddenly appeared in Wu Chen's mind. The Light of the Sun. The three major god-building projects, the axe that cuts through the thorns, the light that illuminates the darkness, and the power that cuts through fear. Isn't the so-called light that illuminates the darkness used to fight the darkness? The spear was retracted, and an exquisite tang knife appeared in Wu Chen's hands. Wu Chen originally asked Wakanda for 3 tons of vibranium, and collected a lot of dark silver and dark iron elements from the universe. Except for vibranium, which is mainly used to build spaceships, the rest of the metals have been used by Wu Chen to create various weapons. Long spear is Wu Chen's favorite weapon, Keisha's silver wings are clever and elusive, Lu Chuang's god-killing axe is infinitely powerful, and the tang knife used by Lena is used in conjunction with the super gene of the Light of the Sun. Best weapon. I use my body to transform into the sun. Wu Chen said. A layer of golden light gathered on his body, and the tang knife in his hand turned directly into gold. Humph. Pretending. At the moment, Caecilius's morale was boosted because Wu Chen's previous attack didn't work. Although he saw the obvious changes in Wu Chen's body, he still rushed forward without hesitation. All the other dark magicians, at the moment, too. Seeing these dark magicians rushing forward again, Wu Chen rushed out. The tang knife slashed horizontally, and the blade slid across Caecilius' waist. Caecilius, who was still fearless, actually stagnated, and his twisted face was full of shock. No, it's impossible. As soon as he finished speaking, he was directly broken into 2 pieces. The dark energy that filled his body failed to repair him at all, and his body was completely incinerated into nothingness in the subsequent burning flames. It seems that the light of the sun can indeed restrain the magical energy of the dark dimension. Said the genetic system. Since it can be restrained, then none of these stinky fish and rotten shrimp can escape. Wu Chen turned to look at the other dark magicians, the tang knife in his hand, and emitted a more dazzling light. The death of Caecilius shocked the dark magicians. But obviously, they have already lost their lives and souls, and they don't know what fear is. All the magicians gathered together, and the magic weapons in their hands greeted Wu Chen. Wu Chen was besieged in the middle, but the Tang Dao in his hand and the aegis of flames that was first summoned were also handy to use, and the offense and defense were orderly. There is such a pure and powerful light energy, you kid, where is it sacred? A thick and deep voice suddenly came from the mouth of a witch magician. Dormammu. Wu Chen looked at the witch magician, and he had realized that it was Dormammu's consciousness that existed in the mind of the witch magician, and was talking to him through her mouth. Yes, I am the monarch of the dark dimension, Dormammu. The voice answered. The 3 holy places haven't been completely destroyed, but your followers seem to have found some way to establish communication with you and make you lower your consciousness. Wu Chen said. It's just a very reluctant approach, but now 2 of the 3 holy places have been destroyed, and the power to protect the magic circle has been greatly weakened. Dormammu replied. But even so, you still can't come out. Wu Chen said. In the movie, Doctor Strange used Time Gem to repair the holy place, but Dormammu was still able to come out. That was because Dormammu had found an opportunity to enter the real world between the cracks where the magic circle was destroyed. And Dormammu was originally beyond time, so Doctor Strange's fix didn't work either. But now, this holy place has never been destroyed, which means that Dormammu has not had the chance to set foot in the real world. Young man, your strength is very strong, but this level is not enough to threaten my existence. Dormammu said. It's better, you take refuge under my command. I will give you dark magic that is more powerful than this light energy, and make you the strongest magician in the world except me. You can get everything you want. Quote. Dormammu is trying to win over Wu Chen. Oh, I could be the only one who is the only one, but now you want me to be subordinate to you. Do you think I'm that stupid? Wu Chen sneered. He is definitely the first person on this earth now. The strongest Asgardian Ancient One in the past could not threaten Wu Chen in the slightest now, not to mention the other governments, superhero alliances, and so on. So, are you the new Sorcerer Supreme? Dormammu asked. No, I am not. Wu Chen shook his head, then continued. I am the god who will achieve eternity. God on earth, hasn't he left long ago? Dormammu looked at Wu Chen curiously. No, I didn't feel the aura unique to those gods from you. Dormammu said. Because I wasn't the god you thought I was. Wu Chen said. Although he claims to be a god, he is the god of technology, relying on the ability of technology to make himself step by step beyond mortals, even beyond all those so-called gods. Not the god I think. Then who are you? How can you be under my command? Dormammu knew that with Chang, he would definitely not be able to enter the real world, so he was still trying to win over Wu Chen. There's no need to waste your time, you will definitely not be able to come out this time. After Wu Chen finished speaking, the Tang knife in his hand slashed violently, and the magician was immediately wiped out. Boy, don't be too arrogant. Speaking on the body of another magician, Dormammu's tone was clearly angry. I'm just crazy, what can you do with me? After Wu Chen finished speaking, it was another knife, and the magician's head fell to the ground. I'll make you regret it. Dormammu transfers again. But this can only be his last time. Wu Chen's attack continued, and all the dark magicians had already been slashed by him. The power of these dark magicians was completely dissolved by the energy of the sun's light, and they didn't even leave a trace of scum. Dormammu's voice never came, but Wu Chen could feel that in an unknown space, a violent energy fluctuation was coming. You can imagine how aggrieved and depressed Dormammu, who could come to the real world just short of the door at this moment. The portal opened, and Ancient One and Doctor Strange were walking towards it. They were at the Research Institute, and they had already seen everything that was happening here through holographic projection. I didn't expect that there is such pure light energy in your body. Ancient One looked at Wu Chen. She had returned to the flesh at this moment. With the help of the big clock, it would not take long to heal the wounds suffered by the Ancient One. But now, in his intentional mind, Wu Chen has had a different opinion. In the past, although Wu Chen was tyrannical, his actions were somewhat unpredictable. But today's Wu Chen actually used bright energy that was far purer than the magic energy used by these magicians. In the eyes of magician, only a person with a pure heart can master pure light energy, so she also subtly believes that Wu Chen may also be a person with a pure heart. What's more, Wu Chen just saved her life. It's just one of my many abilities, it's no big deal. Wu Chen put away the weapon in his hand, and the dark alloy armor on his body has also faded. Looking back, looking at the holy place that was not destroyed. This holy place has been defended, and the dark magicians have also been cleaned up. Then you can clean up the mess yourself. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he directly opened the wormhole and returned to the research institute. In the research room, Wu Chen looked at the holographic projection, and the data displayed by the big clock seemed to be normal. 6 infinite gems, 3 of them are in my hands now, the remaining 3. Before Wu Chen spoke, Time Gem and Reality Gem had been summoned in his hands. In addition to the Mind Gem that is still on Vision's head, Wu Chen now has a total of 3. Everyone knows that Thanos' purpose is to take 6 infinite gems and destroy half of the life in the universe. But now 3 of them have been mastered by Wu Chen, so even if Thanos gets the other 3, it is not enough to threaten Wu Chen originally. The current situation is favorable for us, Wu Chen said, but at the moment, the 2 infinite gems in his hand suddenly shook. An unprecedented energy fluctuation is being stimulated. A kind of unease from the original gem, Wu Chen can clearly perceive it. After a while, Vision came in, his face was very bad, and the Mind Gem on his forehead was flashing. Sir, I feel something is wrong. Mind Gem seems to be warning me that danger is about to happen. Vision said, because the Mind Gem is on his forehead, his perception of gems is more accurate than Wu Chen. Warning, could it be that Infinity War is really coming? Wu Chen was just thinking that he had half of the infinite gems in his hands, and he was already invincible, but he didn't think that the most important event in the Marvel movie universe would come in the blink of an eye. Mind Gem won't send me such a message for no reason. I'm afraid something big is going to happen. Vision said, I just stopped Dormammu's invasion, but I haven't even had time to drink my saliva. Wu Chen complained, the development of this timeline is too urgent, right? In the movie, it would take a few years for the mother to return, but now it's better. It's been less than 2 years since the New York War, and Dormammu has been driven away regardless of Ultron's death. The timeline has changed, and many things that would have happened step by step seem to have been affected and moved forward. The genetic system spoke in Wu Chen's mind. But in the past 2 years, we have not had contact with forces outside the Earth. How could Thanos be affected and advance his plans? Wu Chen couldn't figure this out. Since he crossed into this world, the big clock has been monitoring the global information. Except for Thor, no person from other planets has ever entered or exited the Earth in the past 2 years. No one is going in and out, so what happened on Earth, Thanos can't know. If he doesn't know, how can he advance his plan? If something goes wrong, I'm afraid the situation will be different from what we thought at first. The genetic system is a reminder that this was the case with previous Ultron events. The Ultron incident, which was supposed to bring a major disaster to the Earth, was easily resolved because of Wu Chen's relationship, but then the Illuminati invasion incident broke out. Moreover, the incident of this invasion has only recently passed, and the subsequent Dormammu invasion incident was like a chain reaction, and it broke out immediately. Fortunately, Wu Chen had just stopped Dormammu's invasion, and within a few minutes of his return, something happened to Infinite Gems. Rumbling, huge amounts of thunder sounded, and in the sky outside the research institute, a 7-color rainbow was falling down at an extremely fast speed, directly hitting the traditional light energy barrier and landing on the lawn outside the research institute. Thor hurriedly broke into the research institute. Wu Chen, something has happened, I need your help. Thor had just entered the door when he shouted at Wu Chen. Wu Chen turned around and suddenly realized that this might be bad news again. Let's be clear about what's going on. Wu Chen turned his head to look at Thor, this Thor from Asgard, although there were occasional excited moments in the past, but he has never been so flustered today. My father is very weak now. He also said that an evil death god is about to break the seal. At this time, Thanos has arrived at Nidavellir with his fleet. Thor made the situation clear in one breath. Odin's end is approaching, and now is the time when his energy is extremely weak. Then there was Thanos, who led the army to Nidavellir with the very simple purpose of building the Infinity Gauntlet and the Tyrant Butcher. So, what did you come to me for? Wu Chen asked. My father said, you don't want Thanos to destroy half of the life in the universe, then you must be willing to stop Thanos from attacking Nidavellir, so he asked me to tell you, I hope you can go with me to support Nidavellir. Quote. After Thor finished speaking, he did not forget to urge. Nidalee is in danger now. King Dwarf and their lives are in danger. We must rush over as soon as possible. Odin's abacus is quite loud, knowing that I don't want to take risks, so he wants me to come forward. Wu Chen now knows why Thor came over in a hurry. He really didn't want Thanos to find the infinite gems and use it to destroy half of the life in the universe, but it always felt a little uncomfortable for him to be used by Odin as a gun. Saving a life is better than building a 7-level pagoda. You still speak the common sayings of Chinese culture. Wu Chen looked at Thor curiously. Ah, I've been there before. No, now I'm going to save my life. What are you still struggling with? Thor is anxious like an ant on a hot pan now. Since you're in such a hurry, why don't you rush over with Asgard's soldiers first, but come to me first? Wu Chen was still in a hurry, but the big clock was already calculating the space-time wormhole leading to Nidalee. I originally wanted to go directly, but my father insisted that I come to you first. Thor is also very helpless. With his temperament, he must have swung a hammer and killed him when faced with such a thing. But this time, Odin stopped him and told him to come to Wu Chen first no matter what. So, Odin thinks that with your strength, you can't deal with Thanos. Wu Chen said that, at the moment, the genetic system provided Wu Chen with the calculation results. The big clock has not yet searched for Nidalee's specific location in the universe, and cannot directly open the wormhole to go. Isn't there any way to go directly? It seems that the only way to do it is to use Asgard's Bifrost. Wu Chen responded to the genetic system, then looked up at Thor. Let's go then, Wu Chen said, and then walked out of the institute first. Sir, should I go with me too? Vision asked. Just stay here, it's dangerous for you to be on the battlefield at this time. Wu Chen said. Yes, Vision agreed. Won't Vision follow? Then do you want to find other Avengers and let's go together? Thor looked at Wu Chen's back and thought that Odin insisted on asking him to find helpers, which should be because Thanos was really strong, so he naturally thought of the Avengers. With me here, do you still need to find the Avengers? Wu Chen looked back at Thor. Well, maybe not. Thor remembered that Wu Chen's mission to destroy the Dark Elves and swept the Ultron robot in parallel universes was all done by himself. Thor came to Wu Chen's side, raised his hammer to Heimdall on Asgard Bifrost, and immediately lowered Bifrost. In Bifrost, Wu Chen and Thor moved at an extremely fast speed, and in just a few tens of seconds, they had already arrived at Asgard. Odin, Heimdall, Asgard 3 warriors and Sif are all here. At this stage of Odin, although there seems to be nothing wrong with it, Wu Chen's insight now sees that his power is somewhat unstable. The end is approaching, and even Odin of the Father of God has a feeling of weakness like a normal human being. Find me to be a thug for you, but have you thought about what to get for your reward? Wu Chen looked at Odin and said. The Tesseract is in Asgard. When you drive away Thanos and his fleet, I will give it to you of course. In Odin's heart, he had already been prepared. Okay, it seems that you pay attention to the situation of the Earth, pay attention to my situation, it is not a day or two. Wu Chen knew that the reason why Odin was so direct must be that he knew about the transaction between Wu Chen and Ancient One using Time Gem. As Odin of the Father of God, and Asgardian Heimdall of Asgard, they all possess the ability to observe the universe. In addition to Wu Chen's special setting in the core area of the 3rd floor under the Research Institute, there is really no way for Wu Chen to completely avoid their prying eyes on what Wu Chen does in other places. We will only look at what we can and need to see, and we, like you, will not pay attention to matters related to privacy. Heimdall said. This is actually what Wu Chen told Stark and the others in the Research Institute. The big clock's real-time monitoring ability, the same as Heimdall's observation ability, can see everything they want to see. Okay, you even know what I said. It seems that my guess is really right. Wu Chen looked at Heimdall, and remembered that he was the patron saint of Asgard. The situation is urgent, let's talk about these things later. Thor urged. He was worried about the situation on Nidalee's side right now. That's right, at this time, it's more important to rush to Nidalee to rescue the dwarf family. We'll decide after we come back. Odin said. Then turn on Bifrost, and I'll fight Thanos first. Wu Chen said. At the same time, the long sword in Heimdall's hand has been inserted into the machine again, and with Asgard's power, Bifrost is activated. Wu Chen, Thor, the three warriors of Tiangong and Sif, the most powerful warriors in Asgard, all set off this time. Although Odin and Heimdall stayed where they were, their attention was all on Nidavi. Nidavellir, Thanos smiled as he looked at the finished Infinity Gauntlet and the Tyrant Butcher's knife. As expected of the Dwarf King who is best at forging in the universe, this craft is truly unmatched. Thanos sighed. I have fulfilled my agreement with you, shouldn't you also let go of my clansmen? King Dwarf said. The reason he made these two weapons for Thanos was all because Thanos threatened his people. It will always be released, but before Thanos could finish his words, Bifrost had appeared. Wu Chen, Thor, Sif and the three warriors of Tiangong, at the moment all come. It's just that they are letting them go to see the King of Hell, right? Wu Chen came out first. The Eye of Insight glanced around, and he saw the huge Vanguard Guard Corps around him, but none of the Kitarui Corps saw a single one, not even the Heiyao generals. There's something wrong with this situation, Wu Chen said. He turned his head to look at Thanos. Not right, what's wrong? Thanos looked at Wu Chen, looking up and down with curiosity in his eyes. Obviously, Thanos has not met Wu Chen, but he should know something about him. But his understanding became puzzled when he arrived at Wu Chen. As far as I know, you have two troops under your command, one is the Vanguard Guard Legion in front of you, and the other is the Kitarui Legion that once tried to invade the Earth. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he continued. And what about those generals under your command? They are a big help to you, but they are all gone now, and you haven't shot against the dwarfs for a long time, as if you were waiting for us to come over on purpose. Wu Chen analyzed this, and suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. Fighting the east and attacking the west, and adjusting the tiger to leave the mountain, this is a tactic that is often used in Sun Tzu's Art of War. Thor, summon Bifrost, go back to Asgard. Wu Chen turned his head and said to Thor. Although Thor didn't understand what was going on, he saw Wu Chen's serious expression and realized the seriousness of the problem. He immediately raised Thor's hammer and wanted to summon him. Bifrost descends. But that's when Thanos got his hands on it. A purple light shot out from his hand, and it instantly knocked Thor out. The surrounding pioneer guards rushed out immediately and launched a group attack on Wu Chen and others with a swarming trend. Since they have already come, why rush to leave? Thanos said. I guessed it right. You are Tiaohu Lishan. I am afraid that your 4 Heiyao generals have already broken into Asgard's treasure trove to find Tesseract. Wu Chen summoned the spear. At this time, it was obviously difficult for him to return to Asgard immediately. You are very smart, but even so, you are still fooled. At this time, do you think you can still stop my plan? This time, Thanos had gone through a careful plan, and he only took action after seeing Asgard's current situation. Now, Odin is old, and there is no other strong man in Asgard except Heimdall. Then see if you can hold me here. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he immediately shot. Although the plan of Thanos seems to be aimed at Asgard, Wu Chen is very clear that Asgard hides the space gem. Light energy barriers and space-time barriers alone cannot stop the space gem. Wu Chen is very clear about this. Once the space gem is in Thanos' hands, they can directly break into Wu Chen's research institute on Earth to capture the mind gem. The Power Stone at the moment is already in Thanos' hands, which Wu Chen had not expected before. The situation once again exceeded Wu Chen's expectations. I knew for a long time that you have extremely strong combat power, but you only have a few people. How can you fight against my thousands of Vanguard guards? As Thanos said, those Vanguard guards roared at this moment, and they had completely drowned Wu Chen and the others. The light of the sun, honor me. Wu Chen's body emits an unprecedentedly strong light. The genes of the light of the sun were stimulated by him again, and the powerful energy made all the Vanguard guards who had surrounded him all retreat backwards at the same time. I don't believe that your power is stronger than the power gem. After Thanos finished speaking, his right hand slammed out a punch, and another burst of purple energy shot at Wu Chen. Wu Chen didn't dodge either. The spear in his right hand pierced sharply, and a strong golden light burst out. The two strong energies of gold and purple collided, and a fierce explosion occurred instantly. Under the explosion, the surrounding pioneer guards were directly blown away. Those that were close were directly blown into powder. This is the energy of the power gem and the light of the sun. Either of them can destroy the star level. At this moment, the two collide, although they are not aimed at destroying the planet, but the destructive power is already unimaginable. The pure destructive power of the power gem is too strong, and the ability of the sun's light can't be opposed to it unless the higher level energy is activated. The genetic system reminds. The super gene of sunlight is extremely destructive, so under normal circumstances, the gene system will automatically lock its energy range, and only use the attack methods below the medium-sized flare bombardment. Once the explosive star energy is involved, it must at least be turned on to large-scale flare bombing or even higher-level energy. Then open the permission. Anyway, here, there is no need to worry about the ecological damage caused by the flare radiation. Wu Chen said, yes, open the second-level use permission of sunlight, and unlock the use of large-scale solar flare bombing level energy. The genetic system responded immediately. As a result, more powerful energy began to radiate from Wu Chen's body. Thanos, opposite Wu Chen, also sensed the power of this energy. But with the tyrant's butcher's knife and the infinity gauntlet inlaid with the power gem in his hand, Thanos' confidence grew. And he has to delay time, he has to let Wu Chen stay here longer. Because only by keeping Wu Chen, He Yao Sis' plan can be successfully implemented, and only after getting the space gem in Tesseract can he further obtain other infinite gems. Thor, Asgard has been attacked, and the underground treasure house has been captured. Quickly return to help. Heimdall's voice came over. Thor seemed to be responding, but he was being held down by hundreds of Vanguard soldiers. Silver Blade. Wu Chen summoned Keisha's silver wings, the silver blades formed a pair of wings, and slashed towards where Thor was. The Vanguard guards who were pressing on Thor were instantly cut open by the silver blade, and corpses were everywhere. Dwarfs, let's fight them. The Dwarf King roared, and the dwarfs who had been detained by the Vanguard guards stood up one after another. Relying on their strong bodies, they overthrew the Vanguard guards guarding them to the ground, and then picked up weapons such as hammers and attacked the Vanguard guards. Just on this huge ring belt of Nidavellir, a huge war broke out in an all-round way. If you want to go back to rescue, don't even think about it. Thanos rushed directly to Wu Chen. He had to contain Wu Chen, otherwise, with Wu Chen's strength, even one person would be enough to make it difficult for the thousands of Vanguard guards here to fight. Boom! Bifrost landed, but it didn't land directly where Thor was, but in a relatively empty place. In the past, Heimdall would have landed Bifrost directly where Thor was. But he didn't do that today, apparently because on Asgard's side, he too was attacked. Although he turned on Bifrost, he couldn't adjust it to the exact position. Heimdall kept this Bifrost on all the time, and it is very possible that he himself has already asked the people of the 4 black generals to fight. The situation is no longer optimistic. Wu Chen, don't think about it, I won't let you go. As Thanos said, waving his tyrant butcher's knife, he had come to Wu Chen. The spear in Wu Chen's hand contained extremely strong energy. The two have changed from the previous long-range confrontation to the current close-quarters battle. Wu Chen's combat skills are actually not as good as Thanos. After all, Thanos has lived a long time and has undergone very strict training. As for Wu Chen, he only officially became a fighter after he obtained the ability of super genes through the big clock. For more than 2 years now, he is still researching super god technology most of the time, and training in fighting is relatively rare. Those opponents he faced before, Wu Chen can forcibly crush by his own advantages. But today, Wu Chen is going to face Thanos, and he still has a power gem. After several collisions, neither Wu Chen nor Thanos had much upper hand. But this battle was not good for Wu Chen from the very beginning. Thanos' men at the moment Asgard is snatching the Tesseract, the longer Wu Chen delays, the better the chances of his men's success. Thanos, your strength is very strong, but obviously my strength is stronger than yours, even if you have the blessing of the power gem, how long can you hold on? Wu Chen said, but his attack was not slow in the slightest. If the moves are not comparable, then rely on the strength to attack. The strength is similar, then rely on the strength of the body and the superiority of the weapon to create an advantage. Wu Chen is the 3rd generation of super fighters. He has a flame spear and Keisha's silver wings. Power. Who said my power is worse than yours? Thanos held up the tyrant butcher knife, the power gem on the infinity gauntlet, whose energy was transferred to the knife. The butcher knife slashed down. Wu Chen raised his spear and blocked it. Clang! The sound of metal cutting resounded through the entire ring, and the long spear in Wu Chen's hand was cut off. Wu Chen's expression changed, Angel's wings spread out behind him, and he quickly stepped back. Looking at the long spear that had been broken in two in his hand, a trace of anger filled his heart. The weapon in Thanos' hand is made of ulu metal. It was extremely powerful from the beginning, and now it is blessed with a power gem. The power of this flaming spear is no longer able to compete with it, said the genetic system. I know, Wu Chen replied. His flame spear is made of vibranium as the main material. Thanos can split Roger's shield with that butcher's knife, so it is not surprising to cut the spear in Wu Chen's hand. But this long spear is the first weapon Wu Chen personally built after crossing the border. Wu Chen still likes it very much. You don't have the long spear in your hand anymore. Do you think you can beat me with just those knives flying around? Thanos at the moment is very proud because he knows that at the moment he has the upper hand. It's just cutting off the worst blade in my hand, what's there to be proud of? Wu Chen said, his right hand stretched forward, and a black battle axe appeared in his hand. It was the god-killing axe of the god of war. In Wu Chen's body, the originally most powerful energy of the sun's light was gradually replaced by the power of killing gods. Severing the Axe of Thorns, in terms of combat power, it is clear that the god of war of New Oshing is more powerful than the light of the sun. That axe. The moment King Dwarf saw the giant axe in Wu Chen's hand, his eyes lit up. He is an expert in forging weapons, and the most powerful weapons that have ever appeared in the entire universe are almost all forged by him. Therefore, King Dwarf can see the extraordinariness of Wu Chen's giant axe at a glance. The power contained in the axe is something I have never seen before. I don't know if a forged Stormbreaker can reach this level. In the hands of the Dwarf King, he also holds a mold of the strongest weapon yet to be built, which is the Stormbreaker he built for Thor in Avengers Alliance 3. But at this moment, when he saw the god-killing axe in Wu Chen's hand, he felt stronger than Stormbreaker. Black Battle Axe. Apart from the shape, it doesn't look any different from the black spear you used before, Thanos said. Then go ahead and try. After Wu Chen finished speaking, the god-killing axe had already been swung by him. Although Thanos said contemptuous words, he did not feel slighted in his heart. The power of the Power Stone was activated, and Thanos countered Wu Chen in the same way as before. Clang! The tyrant's butcher's knife and the god-killing axe collided in midair. The powerful energy spread in an instant, and those vanguard guards who had been far enough away were still affected, and a large number of casualties occurred. How come? Thanos' figure quickly retreated, and an unbelievable question came out of his mouth. Not only the strength of the weapon, but also the power when he launched an attack has been greatly improved, and even the energy of the power gem has not been able to gain the upper hand. In the attack just now, Thanos used the energy of the power gem to bless him. But this time, Wu Chen just stepped back, but he was directly knocked out dozens of meters away. The difference in power between the two is obvious at a glance. Thanos, I may have really fallen for your tricks today, but if I kill you here again, even if your subordinates get infinite gems, it will be useless. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he raised the god-killing axe again and attacked again with even stronger energy. There was a flicker of panic in Thanos' eyes. The energy of the power gem was stimulated again, and the tyrant's butcher's knife blocked it towards the top of his head. Boom! The explosion sounded. The tyrant's butcher's knife in Thanos' hand shattered directly, and Thanos' body was directly smashed into the depths of Nidavi's annular belt. The confrontation between the tyrant butcher's knife and the god-killing axe has already been decided. Tyrant butcher knife, complete defeat. God-killing power, gather. Wu Chen clenched the god-killing axe in his right hand, and the god-killing power constantly merged into it. The black axe emits red light, and the strong energy aura attracts the attention of everyone present. Let's go. Suddenly thrown out, the god-killing axe spun and flew out quickly. For a time, all the vanguard guards were cut off wherever the god-killing axe passed. In an instant, the vanguard guards who were originally standing on the ring belt that was almost filled with Nidavi were cut down by Wu Chen by more than a third in one go. In short, the god-killing axe just made a turn around the ring belt of Nidavi, and all the vanguard guards it passed were dead. Thor, go back to Asgard. Wu Chen had just taken the axe of god-killing, and immediately shouted to Thor. Thor was still in shock, but when he heard Wu Chen's words, he immediately stood up. Spinning Thor's hammer in his right hand, and flying straight to where Bifrost was. Entering Bifrost, Thor disappeared directly, and he had returned to Asgard. Thanos, this blow will send you back to the west. Wu Chen once again turned his attention back to Thanos, the deep hole that lay in the ring belt and was smashed out by Thanos. The god-killing axe was swung out, and there was a powerful energy on it. When Thanos himself was severely injured, he couldn't resist it at all. However, at this critical moment, a blue light appeared in front of Thanos. Black Dwarf raised his bulky weapon and blocked the front of the Godkiller with his body. Ebony Maw appeared behind him, hugged Thanos, and walked into the blue light. Boom! There was another explosion, and Black Dwarf was completely shattered. But Thanos and Ebony Maw had disappeared, and they escaped just before the explosion, with the help of Black Dwarf to resist the god-killing axe. Tesseract, how could it fall so quickly? Wu Chen's face was very ugly, because this time, he seemed to really lose. Even if he defeated Thanos, Thanos' plan has been successful. Heyeosi successfully took the space gem from Asgard and rescued Thanos, who was severely injured by Wu Chen. Bifrost reappeared, and a large number of Asgard warriors came, and they began to clear the remaining vanguard. But Wu Chen, at the moment, didn't have the heart to pay attention to them. The god-killing axe was still clenched in his hand, but his body entered a brief state of silence. In the dark matter plane, Wu Chen is talking to the Super Gene system and the big clock. Can a space wormhole with Earth be established? Wu Chen asked. The distance of the two Bifrost teleportation has been calculated, but it will take some time to complete the wormhole that bypasses Asgard and reaches Earth. The genetic system answered. What's the situation on the other side of Earth? Has anyone invaded the Institute? Wu Chen asked. Just received information that Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight are taking the Chitauri Legion and breaking into the Institute through the portal opened by the space gem. I have activated the Super God robot, and they are resisting with all their strength. The genetic system speaks. Rule Wanda and Pilcher, let them protect Vision, and I'll be right back. After Wu Chen finished speaking, his thoughts returned to reality, and then went straight to Bifrost. The energy of Bifrost drives Wu Chen back to Asgard. At the moment inside Asgard, it's already chaos, with signs of destruction everywhere. Heimdall at the moment is not in good condition, and he has multiple injuries. As for Thor, he's not here, presumably protecting Odin. Turn on Bifrost now and send me back to Earth. Wu Chen said. Heimdall didn't ask much, the blade deflected, Bifrost's coordinates began to shift, and the target was exactly the Earth. Wu Chen entered it right away. He wants to get back to Earth as soon as possible, and he will never allow the mind gem that he has already obtained to be taken away by Thanos and his men. Earth, in the research institute built by Wu Chen. When Wu Chen came back, those invading Chitauri legions were quickly retreating. They did not launch a storm on the institute as the big clock had previously reported. But not long after entering the Earth, he immediately turned and started to escape. Wu Chen didn't care so much. The first time to locate the position of Vision, Wu Chen traversed the past with a wormhole. Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver, who were still besieged by a group of Chitauri, saw Wu Chen suddenly appear, and the boulder in their hearts fell instantly. Are you all right? Wu Chen asked. It's all right. Scarlet Witch replied. They attacked very fiercely at the beginning, but they started to retreat after a while, knowing that you were going to come back, and they had no chance. Quicksilver said, Sir, the situation is critical, we must immediately carry out the transfer of Mind Gem. Vision stepped forward. He had hesitation in the past, but now, he is very clear, this must be done. Infinite gems are absolutely safe only when they are in the hands of Wu Chen. I think so too, Wu Chen said. I thought it would take several years for Thanos' plan to start, but now it seems that I was wrong. Assessing the situation and taking advantage of the situation, Thanos is an extremely smart and scheming person. After learning of my existence, he will definitely not go according to the original plan. I should have figured this out sooner, Wu Chen said. At the moment he realized that he was not smart enough. Thinking about things can't be quite comprehensive, especially in a world like the Marvel movie universe that is full of chaos and polygons in the first place, and it's even more impossible to control the big picture. The previous Illuminati invasion event and the early outbreak of the Infinite War at this moment were all things Wu Chen could not have expected. Speaking of which, you are just a peer of the same age as us, and facing an enemy like Thanos who has lived for hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of years, or even longer, it is understandable to make mistakes. Scarlet Witch was speaking soothing words, when, in fact, she really thought so. Maybe Wu Chen is not the one who can do everything perfectly, but there is no doubt that he is already the most outstanding person on Earth. It's useless to say these things. Since you want to pursue eternity, you must avoid accidents. The past may not be able to make up for it, but the future must be controlled. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he waved his hand and opened the door to the laboratory. There are 3 floors in the central area of the institute. The research room on the first floor, where the virtual projection of the big clock is located, is the center of information and intelligence aggregation. The second floor lab, where Wu Chen builds general weapons, armor, and analyzes infinite gems, is there. As for the third floor, it was a void where no one could step, a space shielded by Wu Chen with the help of the Great Clock's ability, where all the true core supernatural technologies were located. Come on, let's take off the mind gem first, Wu Chen said. Vision is no longer hesitation, the first to go to the second floor. After that, Wu Chen and Vision started the project of cutting off the connection between Vision's body and Mind Gem and taking out Mind Gem on the second floor. Both Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver stayed on the third floor. They observed the global situation, but also the situation in outer space. Every minute and every second of the big clock is exploring the star field of outer space. This time, I went out to Asgard and Nidavellir, and expanded the map again, so the big clock has been able to observe the situation on Asgard and Nidavellir at the same time. The situation over Asgard seems to be chaotic. Scarlet Witch speaks, and the big clock at the moment is showing the Asgard situation at the core. Odin's life is coming to an end and Asgard is now in an unprecedented crisis. The big clock reports the details. Who are those extra huge amounts of gnomes? Quicksilver pointed to the dwarfs that were appearing at Asgard Bifrost. That's the dwarf of the Nidavellir. The big clock replied. Dwarf, look at their stature, they are taller than us humans. Quicksilver said, in fact, those dwarfs are indeed not small. Dwarfs are judged by their physical characteristics, not by how high or low they are. The big clock replied, no matter how you look at it, it's a bit different from what we think of dwarf. Quicksilver complained, just today, they suffered the greatest disaster in history, almost slaughtering their entire clan by Thanos, and it was the arrival of their master that saved them. Said the big clock, why would Thanos kill them? Scarlet Witch asked. The dwarf family is the most skilled at forging weapons in the universe, and Thor's Thor hammer is forged by them. The big clock replied, so, Thanos is going to build weapons? Scarlet Witch asked. Thanos asked the Dwarf King to build him the Infinity Gauntlet and the Tyrant Butcher's knife, but the Tyrant's Butcher's knife was destroyed by the Master with the God-killing axe. When the big clock answered this question, it also showed the picture at the time. Look at the scene where Wu Chen and Thanos are fighting, look at the ring built around a neutron star, and the Vanguard guards standing on it. This situation shocked both Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. It's true, the gods are fighting. Quicksilver sighed. It was at this time that thunder came from outside the Institute, and the people from Asgard came again. Sif fell from the sky, announced his identity outside the gate of time and space, and then walked in. I came here by order of the father of God Odin. Sif said. What's the matter with you? Scarlet Witch asked. Odin invited Wu Chen to Asgard, saying that he still has something to discuss. Sif said. Wu Chen is currently performing surgery on Vision. I'm afraid he won't be able to do this in a short time. Scarlet Witch said. But Odin said that this matter is very important, and he hopes to talk to Wu Chen as soon as possible. Sif started to panic. Then let Wanda do it for me. No matter what we discuss, it's the same with Wanda. Wu Chen's voice came out. Although he was in the process of transferring Mind Gem to Vision, Wu Chen still knew about the outside world. Let me go. Wanda was a little flattered. This was going to talk to a generation of God Kings, and Wu Chen actually authorized this matter to her. Well, let's go. After Wu Chen finished speaking, there was no sound after that. At this time, obviously he still has to focus on vision as much as possible, and while taking out the mind gem, he has to create a new core similar to the mind gem for it, which is not an easy task. Sif felt a little helpless, but she had already come, and it seemed even more inappropriate if she couldn't bring anything back. Don't worry, although Wu Chen asked me to represent him, I have already established a communication link with the big clock, and Wu Chen can hear what I hear there. Scarlet Witch saw the helplessness in Sif's heart, and said with relief. Okay, that's all, let's go to Asgard first. Quote, it has already reached this point, and it can only be done. The two came to the lawn outside the Institute together. Heimdall immediately descended Bifrost, and took Scarlet Witch and Sif to Asgard. At Bifrost in Asgard, there is a lot of fun at the moment. The warriors of Asgard are still in and out, and the dwarf of Nidavellir is constantly being teleported here. Wu Chen returned directly to Earth after Thanos escaped. At that time, Nidavellir had a large number of pioneer guards. Therefore, the soldiers dispatched by Asgard have gone through a hard battle, and now, the battle has just ended. Under the leadership of Sif, Scarlet Witch did not stop too much, but went directly to Asgard's palace and came to the room where Odin was. At the moment, Thor, Loki and Frigga are all here. Odin's state is more haggard than before. The invasion of the 4 black generals brought another shock to the Asgard king. Odin, Scarlet Witch greeted Roar politely. At such a critical time, Wu Chen didn't come in person. It seems that it is on the other side of the earth. What else is more important? Odin sat up. Although he was more haggard than before, he was still able to move normally. Wu Chen is transferring the mind gem on vision. Once this project Wang Hao starts, it cannot be stopped easily, so this time he has entrusted me to come and meet you. Scarlet Witch briefly described the situation. A mind gem. Odin said. The space gem has been lost, and Thanos already has 2 infinite gems of power and space in his hands. At this time, it is indeed more important to protect the other infinite gem. Odin accepted the situation. So, when you invited Wu Chen this time, is there anything you want to talk about? You can tell me directly. Scarlet Witch asked. The arrival of Infinity War, I think, is beyond Wu Chen's expectations, right? Odin didn't answer, but instead asked. According to Wu Chen's original conjecture, Thanos should have attacked Asgard after you died, and at that time, the Infinity War will officially break out. Scarlet Witch has no intention of hiding. But he miscalculated, and Thanos changed his original plan. Odin said. Yes. Scarlet Witch agreed, then continued. It's pointless to go deeper into what has happened, so let's talk about the real purpose of finding Wu Chen this time. Scarlet Witch's question made Odin hesitate for a moment. Then, his words made Wu Chen, who was far away on Earth, look solemn. It is indeed the 4 black generals who came to invade Asgard, but it was the Eternals who broke the defenses set up outside the palace and broke into the treasure house. As Odin said, the last 3 words he said also completely caught Wu Chen's attention. The Earth and Wu Chen in the Research Institute also slowed down a bit. Eternals, this is not just a question of the intruder's original strength, but it is very likely that the Heavenly God group is involved behind him. As the so-called supreme gods in the Marvel movie universe, the Tenjin group controls the life and death of the universe. The birth of each god group is based on the destruction of a planet. After birth, it has the strength to create the solar system, and naturally it has the strength to easily destroy the stars. Big Clock, investigate the information status of that celestial group on Earth. Wu Chen said that the Big Clock is also at the moment, and began to explore the group of gods that are being conceived on the Earth. The data shows that this group of gods is still in the process of being conceived. With the current reproduction progress of human beings on Earth, it will take at least 5 or 6 years to form. The Big Clock replied. What about the Eternals scattered across the Earth? Wu Chen asked again. At the moment, it seems that there is no change. The Big Clock calls out the information data of every Eternal race on Earth. That is to say, those who appeared in Asgard were not members of the Eternals on Earth. Wu Chen said. His current strength is overwhelming against most of the people who have appeared in the Marvel movie universe so far. But the God group is obviously not among them. If the Tiantian group is really fighting against Wu Chen, it is just one of them. Wu Chen will spend huge amounts of strength to fight against it, not to mention that the Tiantian group is not an individual, but there is a complete system and quantity behind it, unknown. According to our information, the existence of Thanos is contrary to the interests pursued by the Tenjin group, and they should not join forces. Big Clock Analysis Road. You're right, what Thanos wants is to destroy half of the human beings in the universe, and the birth of the celestial group can only be done after the number of people in the planet they spawned reaches a peak. Wu Chen said, since the relationship between the two was originally antagonistic, it is obviously unlikely that Thanos and the Tenjin group will reach a cooperation. The analysis of the big clock made Wu Chen's frown slightly loosen. As long as the Tiantian group is not directly involved, then with the current strength of Wu Chen, there is no need to worry too much. Perhaps the Eternals and those on Earth rebelled against the Celestials because they didn't want to see the entire planet destroyed. The big clock reminded, whether that's the reason or not, at least we're not facing the most difficult situation. Wu Chen said, continue to assist me in the next project, and at the same time pay attention to the situation on Asgard. The content of the call between Wanda and Odin, I need to know. Wu Chen said, and then he entered the extraction project of Mind Gem again. On the other side, inside the palace of Asgard, Odin is still talking to Scarlet Witch about what he has. The Eternals joined forces with Thanos, and they broke through Asgard's defenses, entered the vault and took the Tesseract, along with the Orb of Almodo. Odin said, the Ball of Almodo. What is that? Wanda asked. It's a relic from the ancient magician Almodo, a magic tool that can spy clues to some major events that will happen in the future. Odin said, since the Eternals took the Orb of Almodo, he must have the ability to use it, and then confront Thanos. I am afraid we will be targeted everywhere. Odin said, and his words made Scarlet Witch realize that the situation was not good. In addition, Asgard and Earth will face another powerful opponent, a death god who is about to return from the kingdom of the dead, Hela. I heard Wu Chen mention it. It should be your former eldest daughter, right? Hela, the goddess of death who fought the 9 realms with you and was the former owner of Mjolnir. Scarlet Witch and Wu Chen have been together for a long time, and naturally know many events and key characters in the Marvel movie universe. Loki and Thor on the side, the two brothers had probably heard something about Hela, but every time they heard Odin mention it, they still felt lingering fears. Among the descendants of Odin, the strongest is actually a goddess who dominates death, and he has also single-handedly destroyed Asgard's once famous Valkyrie Legion. Thor is ashamed of this combat power. Once Hela recovers, Asgard will be invaded by her, but her power comes from Asgard, and once she returns to Asgard and rules, she can use Asgard's power to wage war against the 9 realms and even the entire universe. Odin said, so, do you mean to hope that Wu Chen will come forward to help you fight Hela and kill him before she returns to Asgard? Scarlet Witch asked. Hela is very hard to kill, and I guess that Thanos may have formed an alliance with him, and if they join forces with each other, one of the most powerful dark factions ever formed will be formed. Odin said, if that's the case, then it's going to be a big deal. Scarlet Witch said, you wait, I have to ask Wu Chen for his opinion. After Scarlet Witch finished speaking, he turned and walked out of the room. After getting outside the room, Scarlet Witch found a relatively quiet corner and asked Wu Chen through the big clock. Seth, I already know the situation, what Odin is going to tell us, and what he wants us to do. Wu Chen's voice entered Scarlet Witch's mind. With the ability of the big clock, it is not difficult to talk across the entire universe, let alone in Asgard. What do you mean? Are you going to promise to help them deal with Hela? Scarlet Witch asked. Help, I was asked to support Nidavi earlier, and he agreed to give me the space gem, but now that I lost it, I still have a long gun of my own, and I will be asked to help him again, but it's not that easy anymore. Wu Chen said. When Scarlet Witch felt a little stunned and helpless, Wu Chen's words came again. Just tell them what I said just now. If you think they are sincere enough, then agree to it, and then let the old guy Odin come to the Earth in person. We are here, waiting for his daughter. After that, Wu Chen terminated the call with Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch looked up at Asgard's sky, then looked back at the room where Odin was, and sighed helplessly. Returning to it again, in front of the Odin family, Scarlet Witch conveyed Wu Chen's meaning. Thor and Loki's faces are not very good looking. The Aesir gods who were just on the ground in the past now ask for help from a human on Earth, which makes them a little difficult to adapt. It's better now. Wu Chen didn't agree and didn't say it, and he was blaming them for what they said earlier. The space gem was taken away from my expectations. I can't find it again, but I can't do it now, but. Odin said, but then, he actually picked up the eternal gun beside him. His spear was damaged in battle, but I can pay for it with this spear of eternity. Father. Thor stood up immediately, excitedly. The spear of eternity is the symbol of King Asgard, and it can directly summon Bifrost. How can it be given to mortals so easily? Loki, who had been holding back his words for a long time, couldn't help but speak at this moment. This matter is so decided, you can go back now to explain all this to Wu Chen, and in 3 days, we will go to Earth in person. Odin ignored Thor and Loki, and in his opinion, the Spear of Eternity was obviously less important than the people of Asgard. Scarlet Witch didn't know what to say either. He could only respectfully perform a courtesy, then turned around and exited the room, and then returned to Earth under the leadership of Sif. After he left, Odin had a quarrel with his 2 sons, and even the Queen of Heaven, Frigga, got involved. However, they were all persuaded by Odin in the end. Earth, outside the Institute. Scarlet Witch came out of Bifrost and headed straight to the 2nd floor of the Institute. Regarding Ultron, she had to go to Wu Chen to explain it herself. At the moment, Wu Chen had already taken down the mind gem on Vision's forehead. What he did next was to implant a new energy core into the vacant gem slot on Vision's forehead. Are you going to take the Spear of Eternity in exchange for me to deal with Hela? Wu Chen was actually a little surprised by this. After all, it was Asgard's strongest weapon and the king's symbol. But from the tone of your speech, it seems that you wanted to get this weapon from the beginning, right? Scarlet Witch said. Well, you're right, in Asgard now, the only thing I can look at is the Spear of Eternity. Wu Chen nodded. What he chases is eternity, and he naturally likes weapons named after eternity. Moreover, Eternal Gun can open Bifrost, which has a great effect on Wu Chen. In Thor 4's movie, the Godslayer went to seek eternity, and it was through Bifrost that he opened the final door. Wu Chen has not yet gone to find that eternal idea, but sooner or later, he will still do so. Since he will do it sooner or later, getting a weapon that can summon Bifrost is naturally what Wu Chen needs. And Odin's Spear of Eternity is obviously the most suitable. 3 days later, Odin came to Earth with Thor and Loki. Odin holds the Spear of Eternity. The weapon in Thor's hand has also changed from the original Thor's hammer to a left-handed hammer and a right-handed battle axe. Apparently, after deciding to hand over the Spear of Eternity, Odin chose to forge a new, king's weapon for Thor. Storm Tomahawk. King Dwarf had a casting tool for a long time, and in these 3 days, they went to forge it. Wu Chen, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver and Vision, at the moment, are also in the Institute. The mind gem on Vision's head has been removed, and a blue crystal is reinserted. It is a special crystal that Wu Chen specially found from the universe, and a chip is embedded in the crystal, so that Vision can fight in battle. It still uses an attacking move similar to the laser fired by the previous mind gem. In just 3 days, preparations for both sides have been made. Odin sighed. At the moment, he no longer had that abundant energy in his body. But it seems that he is more like an ordinary human old man. Infinity War has begun. Thanos has found the power gem, and now has the space gem. The war has come. How can it be done without preparation? Wu Chen said. Now that you are ready for war, let's get started. Odin said. The eternal spear in his hand has been sent out by him. Wu Chen stretched out his hand and made a move in midair, and the spear flew into his hand. The moment his palm touched the spear, he felt the power emanating from the spear. As expected of the weapon of the father of God Odin, the energy contained in this Spear of Eternity is at least at the level of killing gods. Wu Chen said, but the so-called god-killing level in his mouth came to the ears of Odin and others, but they couldn't understand it for a while. Wu Chen didn't want to explain too much. He just waved the spear tentatively, and after finding that it felt pretty good, he threw it back into his arsenal. Then, I have finished what I have to do, and it is time for me to leave. As Odin said, Thor and Loki both stood in front of him at the moment, looking at Odin. In the past few days, Odin has explained everything. Whether Asgard's future or the imminent goddess of death, he can't interfere in all these things. I just hope that the helper he finally finds will be able to think of Asgard a little while fighting against Thanos and his alliance, and help them keep their family business. Odin's body began to dissipate, and the Father of God, who had ruled the 9 realms for thousands of years, vanished and disappeared into the universe. After his body dissipated, a space-time vortex appeared in front of everyone. The goddess of death Hela, who came back from the kingdom of death, is carefully observing everyone around her. Initially, her eyes fell on Thor and Loki, as she felt the same divine power from Asgard as herself. But then, Hela's attention was focused on Wu Chen, and then exactly on the Spear of Eternity in Wu Chen's hands. Gungnir, how could it be in your hands? Hela looked at Wu Chen suspiciously. She couldn't figure out how this weapon that Asgard symbolized the king's identity and status could appear in the hands of an outsider who was not Asgard. A few days ago, I stood up for your family, and then the weapon was destroyed by the family. This is what your father paid me. Wu Chen said. The gods of Asgard still need an outsider like you to stand up for them. Hela's tone was full of ridicule and contempt. It seems that without my rebellious daughter, Odin and his obedient sons, nothing seems to be possible. Hela was clearly looking at Thor and Loki when he said this. She could feel that the relationship between the two was a little closer to her, especially Thor. The blood resonance between blood relatives is very strong. Asgard, you don't need to worry about it, you should leave here quickly and return to your world of death. Thor said, the hammer in his hand, at the moment was already flashing thunder. That's how you talked to your sister and me. Hela gave Thor a disdainful look. I'm not interested in watching your family farce, so there's no need to stage it in front of me. Wu Chen said, with a wave of his hands, 2 gentle forces pushed Thor and Loki back behind him. Death god Hela, right. I was entrusted by your father to destroy you, so, are you going to die obediently? Or are you going to fight to the death with me? Wu Chen went straight to the point, and when Hela heard that Wu Chen actually came to deal with him, he was happy now. Hehe, you are just a mortal. Do you really think that with Gungnir in your hands, you will have the power to defeat me? Hela said with a smile. 2 long swords had been summoned in her hands, and her original torn clothes were also covered by a summoned armor. It took thousands of years of exile to come out. It's no wonder that you are a little ignorant, and it's no wonder you. Wu Chen said casually. The dark alloy armor was summoned, constantly self-organizing and wearing Wu Chen's body. You say I'm ignorant, sister. When I came out to fight in the universe, you didn't know which woman was spinning around in the stomach. Hela said, slammed his right hand, and a flying darts flew directly to Wu Chen. Wu Chen didn't make any movement, but the flying darts were blocked by a silver blade that suddenly appeared when they came halfway. Immediately afterwards, beside Wu Chen, many silver blades began to appear gradually. Playing flying darts. There's no one in the universe who's been more slippery than me. After that, Wu Chen pointed the spear forward. In an instant, dozens of silver blades stabbed toward Hela's location. At first, Hela didn't take the attack of these silver blades seriously, but when she tried to block the silver blade with her long sword, she suddenly discovered that these silver blades originally contained extremely strong power, and the sharpness when cutting is simply indestructible. Hela's armor was carefully crafted by Asgard's people from the dwarf tribe, and its defensive power is by no means an ordinary weapon that can damage it. But this time, when Hela planned to directly resist Wu Chen's attack in the most ordinary way, the silver blade instantly penetrated her armor and pierced into her skin. The severe pain made Hela immediately realize that this time she was careless. Wu Chen's attack was obviously effective against her, and the wound cut by the silver blade was sending bursts of pain, as if the energy that would have repaired itself was caused by Wu Chen's silver blade. The wound was swallowed up. Boy, you pissed me off. Hela gritted her teeth hard, and then quickly waved her hands. One after another, flying darts constantly shot out of Hela's palm. In the face of such flying darts, Wu Chen is really not interested at all. In front of Keisha's silver wings, any god-killing martial arts must fade safely, especially this silver blade, which can in turn restrain the attack of flying darts launched by Hela, who has insufficient energy at the moment. The clinking, metal crashing sound source constantly reverberates in midair. While controlling the silver blade, the Super Gene system is also measuring the loopholes in the death god Hela's physical condition and moves. As a result, the flying darts and silver blades that seem to be intertwined with each other actually have a large number of silver blades directly breaking through the defensive circle of death god Hela. These flying darts slashed across Hela's body one by one, and her indestructible skin was now riddled with holes. I told you earlier that playing flying darts in front of me is like courting death, Wu Chen said. He waved his hand violently. Those silver blades suddenly stopped, and then began to turn into more silver blades then spread out. Immediately afterwards, a storm composed of silver blades rose up and down the island, and countless silver blades poured down on Hela's body like raindrops. After the sword rain, Hela couldn't find a single piece of complete skin all over her body. She knelt down on one knee in embarrassment, blood spit out from her mouth, and there were countless sword marks on her body. In the movie, she faces the entire Asgard guard army alone, relying on the flying darts in her hand to kill them all. But today, here, facing Wu Chen's silver blade, her attacking tricks with flying darts were completely grasped. Hela finally understood at this moment why Odin finally chose to die here, and why he gave Wu Chen the Spear of Eternity and let him come forward to deal with him. Because Wu Chen is really her nemesis. Looks like you can't take it anymore, Wu Chen said. His attacks, at the moment, have all been put away. Why on earth do you have to help Odin to deal with me? Hela knew that it would definitely be impossible to fight. Now, she just wants to fight for a chance for herself through other means. I didn't deal with you entirely because I wanted to help Odin, Wu Chen said. Then what are you doing? We didn't have any grudges in the past, Hela said. There is really no grudge between you and me, Wu Chen replied. Quote. It's just that I don't want a dangerous person like you to exist. Wu Chen interrupted Hela. He dealt with Hela because Hela was originally a dangerous person. Now Hela, Wu Chen can hang and beat at will. But if it was Hela after returning to Asgard, with Wu Chen's current third-generation strength, he really wouldn't necessarily be able to defeat him so easily. If she joins forces with Thanos or someone else, the danger will be even greater. What if I promise never to do anything hostile to you from now on? Hela said. She didn't want to die when she just came out of the exiled kingdom of death. Oh, do you think this kind of commitment makes sense? Wu Chen said that this so-called promise has always been the most unreliable. Now, Hela was suppressed by Wu Chen, so she would say such soft words. But if Hela gains stronger power one day, or has the opportunity to fight back, will she still care about these promises made today? Then what do you think? Hela asked. I don't want to do it, and I'm too lazy to think about it, because as long as I kill you here, everything will be over, Wu Chen said, raising the Spear of Eternity in his hand, pointing directly at Hela's forehead. Hehe, do you think you can definitely kill me with this eternal spear? Seeing that the soft service has no effect, Hela simply became stronger. She is the death god who once fought in the entire universe, and in her heart there is only unwillingness but never fear. Can the Spear of Eternity kill you? Then I'll change it, Wu Chen said, and behind him, at the moment, a large black sword suddenly flew out. Combined with the ultimate skills displayed by the power of the galaxy, the ultimate punishment. Even the Spear of Eternity may not be able to kill me. Are you sure you can do it simply by relying on your great sword? Hela stood up, and the energy in her body was stimulated to its strongest state. In Hela's hands, the two long swords were summoned, and she faced the ever-growing big sword and launched a counterattack. How dare you resist in front of me? When Wu Chen spoke, a huge amount of black shadows formed within the space. It looks bigger than this island, and it even looks like the entire planet can't hold it. This is the first time Wu Chen has used this god-level power, and this is the first time he has shown the power of the dark matter plane in front of people. Hela, who was still thinking of trying to resist, was stunned when he saw this huge amount of figure appearing. She could never have imagined that Wu Chen actually had such power, that feeling, surpassing their Asgard gods, and even more terrifying than those huge celestial groups. Do not. In the last wailing, in the face of the final sanction, death god Hela failed to control his own life and death after all. All the cells in the body, at the moment when the big sword fell, all disappeared. The great clock, retrieving the traces of the death god Hela's life. Wu Chen said, the big sword at the moment has changed back to the original file size. It flew back to Wu Chen's back, and then disappeared completely. The signs of life are completely gone, and the energy link between her and Asgard is broken. The voice of the genetic system rang out in Wu Chen's sea of consciousness. The dignified Asgard God King level powerhouse is so vulnerable in the face of final sanctions. Wu Chen sighed with emotion. Although Hela has not yet returned to Asgard, he has not received the so-called source of constantly more powerful energy. But there is no doubt that Hela is a God King level existence, at least the Asgard royal family, and Thor, who has the title of God of War, is vulnerable in front of Hela. Previously, Keisha's silver wings hit Hela many times. Although Hela was severely damaged, it was not able to kill him directly. That was because the powerful energy endowed by Asgard maintained her life. The final sanction obviously avoided this point and directly attacked the source of its life. The final sanction is the ultimate move driven by the anti-void ability above the void level. According to the improvement of the user's strength, the power of this move will continue to increase, and now, your ability is above Hela, and you want to kill her. Naturally not difficult, said the genetic system. Anti-void ability, Wu Chen murmured. He has not yet installed a core engine above the void level, but the anti-void ability is symbiotic with the power of the galaxy. Even Odin said that death god Hela, the greatest disaster in Asgard's history, was killed by you like that. Loki reacted from the shock. He looked at Wu Chen at the moment with surprise and fear in his eyes. Thinking back to the first time he met Wu Chen, he thought Wu Chen was just a small mortal, but now, the other party can turn their backs on the existence of the Asgard gods. If I can't kill even a weak Hela, what can I say against Thanos, who already has 2 infinite gems? Wu Chen said. Thanos, have you figured out how to deal with him? Thor stepped forward. Although watching Hela just die like this made him feel a little uncomfortable, Thor at the moment is already the king of Asgard, and he needs to truly take on his responsibilities as a king. Thanos personally led people to attack Nidavellir, and then let his subordinates attack Asgard, which led to the end of Odin's life prematurely. As the son of Odin and the new king of Asgard, he had to seek revenge on Thanos no matter what. The big clock has been searching for the whereabouts of Thanos, but the universe is too big, and we don't know where they are. This kind of search may not be effective. Wu Chen put away the fighting state, turned around and walked back to the research institute. Thor, Loki, Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Quicksilver followed suit. According to the data obtained by the big clock, the Earth is in a remote corner of the known galaxy universe, and the big clock started its search from here, and it was not comprehensive enough. Wu Chen waved his hand, and the holographic projection changed from the Earth to the entire galaxy. The big clock has been exploring for more than 2 years, and has now arrived at the location of several other known interstellar civilizations in the Marvel movie universe, such as the Nova Empire. You brought 3 tons of vibranium from Wakanda earlier and said that you were going to build a spaceship, so are you going to set off to find Thanos in the universe? Scarlet Witch asked. They all know that Wu Chen found a lot of rare metals, but until now, they have never seen, where is the spaceship? But think of those super god robots built by Wu Chen, and think of all kinds of secretly running factories under the island of the Institute and in the surrounding waters. Scarlet Witch and the others also understood that the spaceship must have been under construction long ago, and maybe it has already been built. The construction of the spaceship is not complete, but now, we do have to go to the universe. Wu Chen said, and his fingers landed on the coordinates of the Nova Empire. Exclamation mark. Although, the situation is completely different now. Thanos obtained the power gem several years earlier, and this time period, if compared to the original timeline, should be when Star-Lord or Guardians of Galaxy first came into contact with the Cosmic Spirit Ball. But no matter what stage it was cut off at, it should have a certain connection with the Nova Empire. The spaceship has not been built, and you will not be able to accompany you, so you will continue to stay in the Research Institute and be responsible for monitoring the situation in the world and the universe. Wu Chen looked at Scarlet Witch and others and said, "Are you going alone?" Scarlet Witch was a little worried. After all, there was a huge army there, and Wu Chen was only one person. Although Wu Chen's strength is very strong, in this situation, she will inevitably be afraid of what will happen. If I go alone, it will be safer, Wu Chen said. Wu Chen is right. With his strength, he can protect himself no matter what kind of environment he finds himself in, but if he brings us with him, in the event of an emergency, we will become his burden. Vision said. Yes, Wanda, we can't handle these things, so let Wu Chen do it himself. Pilcher is also comforting Scarlet Witch. Okay then. Scarlet Witch didn't hold out any longer. Well, it's settled like that, Wu Chen said. In addition, the Super God robots will be stationed at several key points around the Research Institute in the future. When I am not on Earth, the three of you can be in charge of commanding them. If there is any emergency, you can also let other super robots in the factory stand by. The God robots started together, Wu Chen said. In these days, the factories around the Institute have been operating. The creation of superhuman robots has never stopped from beginning to end, and the first batch of robots created was put into the construction of spaceships. And now, there are already a lot more. Therefore, he has let the big clock be responsible for the arrangement, so that part of it is arranged around the Research Institute, and is responsible for the patrol work of the Research Institute and the periphery of the island. In the past, Wu Chen believed that as long as there were light barriers and space-time barriers, all intruders could be eliminated. But now Wu Chen is very clear that no barrier can be perfect. Although the Super God robots can't be as good as the real Super God army, but these robots have been transformed by big clocks, and they are supported by the algorithms of the space-based computing group. The combat power is definitely better than those created by Stark and the others. Ultron robots are much more powerful. With these robots in charge of patrolling, and with the protection of light energy barriers and space-time barriers, the safety of this research institute can be better guaranteed. Yes, Vision and others answered at the same time. Thor, take Loki back to Asgard. Wu Chen looked at Thor and Loki. Asgard is really in trouble now. But if you want to fight Thanos, you can come to me at any time. We Asgard owe you this time, and we are absolutely bound to do anything in the future. Thor's opinion of Wu Chen was not very good before, but this time, Wu Chen actually helped Asgard through a major crisis. Well, I see, Wu Chen answered casually. Thor and Loki then summoned Bifrost and returned to Asgard. Wu Chen unfolded Angel's wings and flew into outer space. The wormhole opened, and Wu Chen entered it directly. In just a few hours, Wu Chen came from the Earth on the edge of the galaxy to the extremely prosperous capital of the interstellar empire in this universe. Xandar Star, where the capital of the Nova Empire is located, is also the planet with the most frequent exchanges and trade among various civilizations and races in the universe. Wu Chen didn't go in, but the big clock scan of Xandar's information had already begun. The civilization of this planet is already a good existence among aerospace-level civilizations, and the concept of civilization and the environment within the planet are rarely seen. The big clock's evaluation of this new star empire is still very high. In this way, the Nova Empire has not been attacked by Thanos and Ronan. Wu Chen didn't pay attention to the technological level of Nova Empire. What he cared more about was the current state of Xandar Star. The whole city is prosperous. Whether it is the military or the civilians, it seems very relaxed and comfortable. Obviously it has not experienced war or even received any threats. The location information of several key persons has been retrieved. The big clock said, the positions of Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, and Nova Supreme have all been marked by the big clock. Only Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, and Tree Groot are here. No information from Gamora? Wu Chen asked. According to the data records on the planet, Gamora was only here half a month ago. The big clock answered. Sure enough, the situation is completely different from what I remembered. Wu Chen no longer struggled with this issue. The moment Nidavi saw Thanos holding the Power Stone in his hand, Wu Chen realized that the storyline of Guardians of Galaxy 1 must have been changed. And now all this is just the idea of applying for Wu Chen. It will take some time to decipher the Nova Corp's internal data system. The big clock reminded. Well, I'll go down and see you first. That 3 punches hit the 4th Star-Lord of the Avengers Alliance. After Wu Chen finished speaking, with the flapping of his wings behind him, he landed directly towards the interior of Xandar Star. The big clock was cracking the database of the Nova Corps, and Wu Chen went directly to the trading area to find the Star-Lord who was hanging around here. The Star-Lord, who was holding a red-skinned alien girl in his arms, was proud of the spring breeze at this moment. Hey buddy, let's talk business. Wu Chen reached out and patted Xing Lord's shoulder. Star-Lord turned his head, and when he saw Wu Chen, he was slightly stunned. Business? What business are we talking about? Star-Lord asked. There is a treasure house with a lot of treasure hidden in it. If you can help me find the thing, I can pay you a lot. Wu Chen did not directly ask about the Cosmic Spirit Ball, but first tentatively approached Star-Lord to discuss business. Chongbao, what kind of heavy treasure? Star-Lord asked back. The Cosmic Ball, Wu Chen replied, and as soon as he said these words, Xingju's expression changed. After the eyes rolled around a few times, Star-Lord suddenly put on an expression of disgust. I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm not a thief. You should go to the universe to find looters for help in your business of stealing. After speaking, Star-Lord turned around and was about to leave. But before he took a few steps, Wu Chen suddenly moved from behind him to in front of him, an invisible pressure that made Star-Lord unable to move instantly. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.